Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition 129 of the CantinaMX podcast. Glad to have you with us this evening, as always. My name is John Jagu. Good to have you with us. A lot to cover tonight. We're going to get right to it. We have a couple of Fecha FIFA games that we want to discuss. Probably outside of anything happening before qualifying, probably the biggest and most important Fecha FIFAs before any World Cup cycle, the one right before the tournament. And we're going to jump right into it with our panel. I am truly outnumbered tonight. There are three Chivarmanos with us tonight, and we'll start out up in Long Island with Rigo Ayala. Rigo, how are you, sir?
How are you, sir? Long time no talk.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Rigo, I believe that you had requested an opening. Well, I can't find it. Chingao, where is it? Maybe it's over here. Oof, well, I can't. I believe that you had requested. Oh, there it is. Here we go.
Mr. Burns, you mentioned you wanted an opening tirade.
So we'll get into that in a second.
Okay.
And then with us also out in California, we have two other Chivarmanos. We have with us Joel Aceves. Joel, how are you?
Hola, John. Doing pretty good.
Yeah. How's that LG tablet treating you, Joel?
Oh man, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I take it to work. Yeah.
Are you watching your novelas on it?
Yeah. Was it supposed to have internet? I don't. Or is it typing it from somewhere?
No, it was supposed to have it. It was supposed to have it, at least through the World Cup.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I didn't know.
Are you streaming interracial porn on it?
Oh, wrong podcast.
Wrong podcast.
Yeah, he's streaming goat porn on it. Apparently, we're watching Chivasta. And good to have you on, Joel. And then, of course, we have with us El Profe, who was actually in Santa Clara last week, so we'll get his opinion on the game. How are you, sir? Juan Uribe joins us from Long Beach. What's going on, Juan?
Good, John. How you doing, man? I'm good, man. I'm having quenching my thirst, so to speak. And I'm pretty sure Jolie's also using his tablet for He-Man memes.
It would not surprise me now. And like I mentioned, I know that we want to jump right back into it. So I know that Rigo.
Mr. Burns, you mentioned you wanted an opening tirade.
So let it rip, Rigo. What you got?
Okay. So last week I sent out some tweets, and I feel like I got everybody a little in a little bit of a frenzy because of these tweets, and a lot of people felt that I was trolling by when I sent these tweets out. And so essentially what I said was that the national team would be better served if Guardado and Hector Herrera were not playing. And I plugged in two names, obviously two Chivas guys. I put in Pizarro and Marco Fabian as who I thought would be good replacements for them.
And they acquitted themselves so well in the friendlies as well.
So we have the first friendly against Iceland, and Guardado starting along with Fabian. And Fabian ends up scoring a goal. So there I was, touting myself.
On a free kick.
Okay. I mean, but, okay.
On a free kick.
Yeah. But
can you remember anything Marco Fabian did prior to that free kick?
I mean, I thought he was hustling the most out of anybody else.
Okay, so he was hustling.
Yeah, because
and hustling is what you say when you're not playing well. At least he's hustling well.
Well, because the midfield was all discombobulated.
Right. Well, okay. So we'll move on. Okay.
So then Guardado, I thought was again like he's been since the World Cup, just had a subpar game.
Since the World Cup in Brazil?
Yes, this World Cup in Brazil.
Not the Gold Cup where he was named the tournament's most outstanding player.
The Gold Cup where we lost 7-0?
No, that was the Copa America. You're getting your Moleros. You're getting your Moleros confused. The Gold Cup was in 2015, and then the Copa America was 2016.
All right, so we'll go from 2016 on. He hasn't been great. Just based on my observations, right?
Sure.
So the second half of that game, Carlos Vela comes on
Right.
in replacement of Guardado in his position, and the whole midfield just changes. I mean, not that Mexico completely dominated that game, but in the second half, the Mexican team just looked a lot better. In the first half, Iceland should have been up like 3-0.
Right. Well, they should. I mean, what happened in that what and Juan can talk to it just because he actually saw it in person. But for about 20 minutes in the second half, it looked like there was finally a connection between the defense
And the offense.
forward and the offense
Yes.
and the forwards, because in both games, really, not just the Iceland game, but also in the matchup in Jerry's place against Croatia, we saw the same thing, and we saw the same formation. And I have to think, could there be a worse formation for Mexico to play?
Well, the problem with the formation is that if you're going to play with a 3-man back line, you need to have wingers that are going to come back. You need to have they need to be midfielders that are going to come back. And he's playing with attacking wingers who
refuse to come back.
Yeah. So then we go into the Croatia game, obviously at Jerry's World, and he plays Guardado again, and he plays Pizarro. Okay, I would have to say the whole team had a terrible game.
Okay.
Even Carlos Vela and Chucky, who are right now probably the best Mexican players.
Sure.
Right. But he placed them both on the wings in this 3-4-3 diamond formation in the middle, and it was it Hernandez and Gobea and Guardado in the midfield, and then Pizarro as the cam attacking midfielder.
Right. The position that we think he's born to play.
Yes. And there was no midfield. There was nothing. Like they could not retain possession. There was nobody, like they could not string 2 to 3 passes together. And okay, I get, Gomez young. Pizarro, I mean, I've been hyping him up, so I have to eat my words for that because he had a terrible game. But if you look at that midfield, the guy who is supposed to be, above the rest based on his legacy and where he plays right now and how he's doing in the season would be Guardado. You would think that he would be the player that would, take over that midfield, and he couldn't. He couldn't do it, and he hasn't been able to do it. And to me, in the second half, once the lineup changes and he moves pieces around, he takes Guardado out of that center midfielder spot, and he in the beginning he put him a little bit higher, and then he took him out for like 15 minutes. The team starts gelling better. Well,
they also changed formations completely. I mean, weren't they playing?
Yeah, they went to 4-4-3. Yeah. But still, well, was it a 4-2-2 or a 4-3-3?
It's supposed to be a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3.
Yeah. With 2 defensive midfielders and the attacking mid. But
yeah, because he put in Molina and Molina and Burrito, or was Molina playing as a defender or was he playing as a midfielder?
No, he was playing as a midfielder, okay. And he put in
true defensive midfields.
Yeah, and then he put in Guardado for like 15 minutes at that cam spot, and then it just seemed like after that first 15 minutes of the second half, he just seemed like he just started like making up just a bunch of different changes. And the whole team.
It seemed like it was a wasted opportunity because I mean, whether or not Croatia is playing the quote unquote their best players. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the players that were the subs are still pretty damn good, and if they're the team that most resembles not necessarily German, but how a German team might play as far as style, where Croatia, unlike other European sides, especially Northern European or even Eastern European, they do tend to possess the ball a little more and have, it's not just going to be long balls and counterattacks, and they do a good job of maintaining themselves.
No, they did.
And that's what they did. And so to me, it was like, I mean, are you trying not to show Germany what you're going to do, and just going to do the exact opposite of whatever it was? Because to me, it was almost I don't know, it just seemed like it was not the best thing for Mexico to do in that situation. I mean, it seemed like you'd want to at least try a little bit of how it is that you're going to play against a team like that. Because the reality was, for me at least, in the first half of the Croatian matches, that Croatia should have been winning that game 4-0 at halftime.
Yes.
I mean, they missed some.
I mean, Iceland too.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Iceland not as bad. I mean, Iceland had some chances, but I think that those chances were, they weren't like giveaways like they were against Croatia.
I just feel like against Iceland, had Iceland had a couple better players, they probably would have put some of those opportunities away. I mean,
same with Croatia.
That's not to say that, like, there's a everyone in this national team, from the coach to the players, I feel like everybody holds a certain responsibility into this team's lack of cohesion. Obviously, Osorio bears the brunt of this, but I mean, the defense underperforms and the midfield underperforms, and it just seems like we waste, probably one of our more talented crop of strikers and attackers because the midfield underperforms and the defense too. So my point is that with all of this is that there are players who should be looked at and not just played because of what they've done in the past or where they play for their club if they can't perform in the system that they're being asked to perform in, i.e. Guardado, Herrera, Reyes. And I mean, and just looking at what I've been seeing, like, to me, like, I wrote an article today. The midfield that I would like to see against Germany would be Molina at center defensive mid, Jonathan Dos Santos right next to him, and Carlos Vela in front of them.
You know what? It's interesting because he didn't give Jonathan a sniff.
He's injured.
Jonathan
injured.
had
he got dropped. He was injured.
He had an air quote injury.
Oh yeah, that was
I thought it was interesting. He didn't play the other Jonathan.
Well, no, he didn't play Gonzalez either.
Yeah, he didn't play Gonzalez. I thought that was interesting.
I thought he'd give him minutes in Santa Clara. It'd be like a homecoming because I guess he's from there, But he didn't. That's another guy that didn't get a sniff. But you know what, guys? I mean, from the way I saw the game, for example, speaking of the Iceland game, I thought Mexico was a better team throughout, even in the first half. The lack of cohesion, I think it's by design, because what he's looking for is for them to bring the ball up one wing and then switch to the weak side, And if you notice, Mexico does that all the time. Like, that's like it's their go-to. It's like, the Lakers, dropping it into Shaq or something. That's
it's like a jugada de atracción. So they go up the wing, they want to tilt the field on that side, and then the minute that happens, they try and get the imbalanced, like the numbers on the other side.
Yeah, it's like that's their go-to now. That was their go-to in the Iceland game, and I think I saw it in the Croatia game. Is just obviously Croatia had better talent, and that kid that center mid, what's his name, Kovacic?
From Real Madrid.
Yeah, he's actually. I mean, he might even be better than Modric. I mean, he was doing well against Mexico, and so it was funny because speaking on Osorio's change of tactics completely, going to two defensive mids, is that I was kind of talking to Martín del Palacio about they were kind of sliding Gallito Vázquez, before that game, and they were saying Osorio's trying to teach Mexico how to play without a pure defensive player in midfield, or two, and then he goes and he brings out two defensive mids. So I mean, but it was by necessity.
Do you
he
think?
didn't have a choice.
Just from watching, like now, do you think that the players are just not able to keep up with what Osorio wants to do?
Oh no, they're doing it. They're doing it. It's just you have to look at the type of player that's there. Like look at Tecatito. He's he really struggled with his 1v1s. There was moments where he could play a through ball to Layun, but obviously Tecatito's not a guy that's gonna pass the ball, right? If he's in the attacking third, he's gonna
1v1
look.
situation, yeah.
Yeah, if he's in a 1v1, like he had Layun several times to give him. Layun would make the run, and then Tecatito would, instead of giving him the ball, he'd cut inside, going to his left. So like for example, in the Iceland game, in the second half, he brought in Vela, he brought in Chucky. So Vela's he's really good at delivering that switch like at the right moment. And obviously Chucky's really good at forcing the defense getting through their backs for a through ball delivered to him, or for him to find the pass. And like for me in the Iceland game, the only thing that changed was that the guys delivering the pass, the switch of the field happened a lot faster, because the guys there, obviously they're better at that, and they deliver better passes. They have better vision from the back compared to the first half, So that's what I think. Like, you had Vela dropping in deep and right away switching across to Chucky, and vice versa. So I think it's just those guys were looking for each other a little faster. That's because in the second half the game was just it was more back. The ball was moving faster. The game got faster. There was more
back and forth.
Iceland actually got more.
Were you drinking your beer faster in the second half too?
No.
Oh no, you were in the press box. You were in the press box. You weren't drinking beer.
I was sitting in front of like Faitelson, he was in the top row.
Yeah, what cologne does he wear? What cologne does he wear?
You know what? I don't know, dude, but I kept having the urge to just like give him a nice punch, like in his to his temple, to just kind of,
Well, isn't that how he should be welcomed at every press box?
I think so.
Like someone should be, give him the the honorary putazo to Faitelson, to start each game. Now, I do want to bring in Joel. Joel, now I know that you've been bearish on Mexico. Do you feel that these performances reinforce that, or do you think that there's reason to hope that for anybody? I mean, have these games changed the opinion of how Mexico is going to do in the upcoming World Cup? But I'll ask Joel first.
No, it doesn't change my opinion. I think it's difficult to judge from friendly games, especially with a coach that likes to, experiment a lot or change things up a lot. So it makes it a bit difficult to say for sure what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no one now thinks that Mexico is the shoe-in to make the semifinals then.
Yeah,
after these performances.
I don't know, man. I know he's been getting more criticism recently, but by this point, it's pretty moot.
Yeah, it's pointless to.
Yeah.
To criticize him. That's why I'm criticizing the players.
He's not gonna change. You know what?
Yeah.
Tom Marshall though, Tom Marshall's a big he's a big Osorio fan. He was the kindest person to him in the press conference. Like, he buttering him up and he even made Osorio, like, that was the only moment he smiled was during Tom Marshall's question.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm sorry, Joel. I'll let you respond real quick.
I was just gonna say Tom has that effect on people. He'll make you smile.
He will make you smile.
No, but yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Well, one thing I noticed after the Iceland match, particularly, and I didn't get to see it as much after the Croatia match. But after Iceland, I mean, if you watch television, particularly television that originates in Mexico, not necessarily Univision, I mean, you would have thought that Mexico had gotten their ass kicked with the way that they were talking. That it was just a thorough domination by Iceland. You know, as doom and gloom as they had been. Now, I'm not saying that Mexico played, a particularly good match. I mean, they do what had been done to them so many times. You know, they dominate in the first half and then let the other team score a goal right before halftime. You know, which is the worst thing you can do. I mean, it totally changes the game. And I mean, and then after that, I mean, as far as the second half, obviously they scored a fantastic goal. And again, you're in soccer, you're not winning games 10-9. You're not winning games 15-14. You're winning games 1-0. And if you get the goal, a play where you can generate a goal and it happens, and then to me, friendlies are, I would consider that a successful friendly if you're able to generate a good play to score a goal, because it's not that easy to score goals in the sport of soccer.
I also think
unless you're like you
in
right?
Mexico. I was gonna say I also think in Mexico, they're they, as much as as unbiased as they want to be, at the end of the day they're still fans, and like we are, and they think a lot of their criticism comes because they know that it's a friendly, but they also see that the product is there, and that's what we're gonna have in Germany and
Right.
against Germany, and it's frustrating to know that more than likely, like, we're gonna get beat by many goals if they play this way. Because I mean, if Iceland had so many clear opportunities, I mean, I'm not that Iceland is a bad team, but that it's concerning because then you go and you play against a really good team like Germany, and then it's like, okay, if Iceland's getting by you like that, then what is Germany going to do?
See, I don't mind a 3-man back line. But you have to have the two wingers, so you eventually have a 5-man back line if you have to have it.
Hey, dudes, I'm just gonna correct you. I don't think he's gonna do a 3-man back line against Germany. I think because remember, one of his tenets is he's always gonna have one more defender than the other team has forwards. So if Germany plays a 4-3-3, which I think we're expecting them to, right? They're gonna play a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
Then Mexico is probably gonna play a 4-man back line.
I think he's gonna go 4-5-1.
Yeah, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. I don't know.
How about a 6-2-2?
No,
hey, that'd probably be the best.
I'm being dead serious.
All 11 stand in front of the goalie, right in the line, all game. No, I think he needs to play. He needs to play with 2 defensive midfielders. He needs to play with 4 in the back, and just play with a lone striker. Man, I would fucking put Chucky up at striker. He's the fastest one, and just leave him there. And everybody else just defending.
Well, there are a couple of things I would do, and I think that this is where I think Mexico is as good and could be as good as anyone in the world, and they showed glimpses of it, is counterattacking. I would love to see that become Mexico's primary weapon in the World Cup, because I think that they could be incredibly good at it.
Yes.
And it's not something that Mexico historically has done all that much. But this group looked the absolute most dangerous
when they
counterattack.
Correct. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, if Osorio could figure out a way, and Ron talks about this all the time, is like, you don't have to have the ball to control a match. And the Germans are going to have the ball, and it's going to be very hard to take it away from them because they have players that the Mexico just cannot match them. Hombre por hombre, skill for skill. It's just not going to happen. And it's no slight on Mexico. There are maybe 2 teams in the world that can match up with the Germans like that. That's just as our friend Raúl Orbañano says, esa es la realidad. I mean, it's just what it is. And Mexico has to take a defensive posture against Germany. You cannot play the possession game against Germany, especially with the players that Mexico has, giving up the sloppy passes that they gave up against Iceland and Croatia. Mexico should be, if you're going to have a sloppy, I get it, it happens, but I mean, they were doing it like 3 out of every 5 possessions. They weren't getting past the center circle without giving it away, and a lot of it on unforced errors. And that the Germans will just. I mean, they did. They took them 7 minutes to score 2 goals against Mexico because Mexico, was bad with the ball.
I mean, against Spain, I don't know if you guys watched the Germany-Spain game. I was watching it. First 15 minutes, Spain was dominating. Oh, yeah. Spain scores the goal, and Germany immediately turned it on, and they come back and they score. Now, I mean, they didn't score right away, but when they wanted to turn it on and play high pressure, take the ball away from Spain, who's one of probably one of the best teams in the world with ball retention and possession, they were doing it. They were making them make mistakes. So that's I feel like Mexico, a team that normally plays to have the ball and play possession ball, they won't be able to do that against Germany. No. They need to counterattack. I mean, I don't even know if they'll be able to do it against the Koreans because the Koreans are so fast on counterattacks themselves.
Hey, the silver lining is everybody in Mexico's group lost, including Mexico. So everybody in Group F lost their friendly on Tuesday. On Tuesday, and you know what? I got to watch a little bit of the Argentina game against Spain. I don't know if you guys watched that.
Yeah, I was watching that.
And I was reading an article by AS. They talked to Sampaoli, and yeah, there's parallels to Mexico's loss against Chile because they're basically saying he basically said that they have a mental block right now, which is
messy. Everything
insane to me. To have an Argentine team that mentally it can't handle the pressure. He says they're in their morale is low, and and I thought if one thing the Argentines have, it's a strong mentality, and I guess according to Sampaoli, that's not the case right now. He says he needs to work with them with the mental aspect with them because they mental psychology, not mental reading the game. Mentally, psychologically, they're in a bad place, and I think it's very similar to Mexico's Boda Roja,
Yeah, but the Boda Roja was that was an official match. I mean, losing 6-1 is bad anytime. Losing 6-1 in the friendly is
with a coach that's only been in the coach for a couple months,
right?
I mean, but it's still I don't think Argentina's used to.
No, I think that's like the worst loss, something like that.
Well, here's the thing that I don't understand about Argentina is as talented as
exactly.
Hombre por hombre can match you. That Germany team we're talking about, they can match the Germans, they can match Brazilians, the French, the Spanish, all of them. I mean, on paper at least. I mean, especially up front. I mean, my God, it's repulsive. How many great players they have, and for them to just totally have to rely on Messi for that. I mean, to the point where you watch the game, and all they want to do is just get it to him and hope he can make it happen.
Well, to be honest, he didn't play Tuesday,
and it works. Most of the time, it works. Game, that's what's crazy.
I feel like that game helped Messi for the the outlook that Argentinians have of him, because a lot of Argentinian fans do not like him.
Right.
And I feel like that game more than likely helped. I'm not gonna say helped his legacy, but in the eyes of Argentinians, made they realized how valuable he is.
I mean, holy smokes! How can you not? I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's like,
no, yeah.
I mean, at that point, you're just being nothing but a straight up hater if you can't understand that.
No, I mean,
I agree with you. It's just it really is just bizarre.
I was watching a video earlier, like, why doesn't Ronaldo have as much pressure to win as Messi?
Well, because I mean, Portugal's Portugal and Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina's are.
I mean, it's just not the same. I mean, you could spend. Joel, could you go in Argentina and just stay in Buenos Aires and go watch one game a week during the season and see and not see the same twice because they have so many games in Buenos Aires?
Pretty much, man. Not just first, but even second division.
Yeah, so there's like what 30, 40 teams in Buenos Aires alone.
Yeah, and even like the third division teams. Well, it's just way different than what we're used to seeing.
So is that going to affect Argentina then positively or negatively? Because I mean, I can certainly see this as a great wake up call for all those guys to say, you know what, we are so much better than this.
Well, I think one of the things that's been happening was it's extra cancha a lot of to an extent, It's since Grondona passed away. There's been a lot of like push and pull to see who's gonna control the AFA. So there's a lot of, I'll say, like, I don't know if it's turmoil, but it's just too much desmadre in the inside.
Does that trickle down to the players?
I think it does. I mean, we've seen what happens a lot of times, recently with Chivas with the whole Alanis thing, and before also when Mexico would look how much they mirrored Mexico, how many coaches they've changed in such a short time span.
Right.
Well, just go back to last year when wasn't Messi? He was gonna quit the national team, and they had trouble with their flights.
He quit
the national team. He quit the national team.
Quit,
And then they had the other with the players with I think it was Iscardi or one of the players who slept or
Icardi,
he took the other player's wife straight.
Yeah, they supposedly have banned. They've banned him.
You still want to show me your cucumber?
So it's to me that's been a lot like the
and then
supposedly
Can I say how happy I am that drop is now ubiquitous? So you guys just let it roll on. Thank you very much. Just want to point that out. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Dybala doesn't want to come because he can't play with Messi on the field. Like, I think it's ridiculous.
And
they got a feud or what's going on?
No, they play the same position essentially. So when he plays with Messi on the field, they move him, and he says he's struggling to play on at the same time. So he just refuses. Not that he refuses. He's like, I'd rather not go.
Yeah, and a while back it was something similar with Tevez, where he was kind of.
That's the guy, honestly.
Side,
whoever the ídolo argentino is right now in the country. And the one that at least that's not like the 24th guy, the guy that's not on the national team, that's the guy I would inject into that locker room.
Yeah, I would too
for the World Cup.
Yeah, so they're talk that there's been this big disconnect, and I think you could see it, because all that talent in that team, they just shouldn't be getting taken apart so easily or struggling so much.
You know what? But Sampaoli screwed up, dude, because he brought in Mascherano, and I mean that guy's, he's playing in China. I don't think he's at the same level that he was a year ago.
Well, he left. He went
obvious.
to China. He went to China so he could regain his form because he wasn't playing at Barcelona. So that was like part of the plan,
dude.
So he get playing time.
He's three steps too slow. The first goal. I mean, he was.
Well, Chip, again, for Argentina, it's better for them to find this out now than to find out against Denmark. So, if it doesn't work out, I mean, I do believe that Argentina is the kind of country that would be able to handle replacing Mascherano without any problem at all.
Dude, but I just think the mental aspect, they're gonna struggle to recover from it because they're not used to this. They're like they're basically. I mean, you guys, everybody rates the Argentines. They've been living off of their reputation for the longest time. But
they did recently just make the final, though.
They did make the last World Cup final.
They've made the last three finals in the tournaments they've played in.
Yeah. Well, true. But okay. I think they're not. Their players aren't at the level where and maybe they never were. They just had a lot of attacking talent, but it's not. I mean, because technically, throughout the years, I've been hearing from different coaches, like the FMF coaches, when um, and reporters, and reading different accounts, that as far as technique goes, Argentina is behind Mexico at the youth, and that was at the youth levels. This was like 10, 12 years ago. So I think their national team, even though the players, they have the garra, they have the heart, they have, they maybe they don't have the technique, and they don't have they
Te
don't read the
mamaste,
game.
Juan.
Huh?
What podcast am I listening to? Wait.
Look, I mean, I think that's their issue, and I think, and like now they brought in Sampaoli. Obviously he's gonna bring his
What
system,
the?
but he needs to lay the foundation for at least one cycle. So I think the next cycle is when we're gonna see Argentina, really start kicking some tail, because he
Well,
Well,
brought in a lot
I
of
think I
players.
think I think that next cycle will be because Messi's not there anymore. They don't have to be dependent on Messi.
Oh,
Uh,
he could still stick around, dude.
I mean,
Two-
he'll stick around, but I think like he won't be the focal point of the team.
Yeah,
I
but
think
we
right.
should.
Go ahead.
No, I said we should note that also they had they were a bit unfortunate in some of the finals they reached.
Yeah,
That they
Higuain
got
always
there
misses.
yeah, but they also got there with injured players.
Yeah, I mean, and Argentina for a long time has struggled to put out defenders too. Like they haven't put out quality defenders.
I'm gonna be honest with Profe. Profe, if we got an Argentine coach on the show, I'm sorry, but we would have to replace you, Profe. Hope you don't mind.
We have to what? Remove my microphone? No, I'm serious. Look, at the youth levels,
CantinaMX
like
style.
I've sat in a classroom with the FMF coaches, the goalkeeping coach, and different, and I've read different articles from just different sources that they've all said the same thing, that as far as technique, I'm talking about technique, polished technique, that Mexico, that the Argentines were starting to admire Mexico. And remember, Juan Manuel Lillo, he said the same thing, that Mexico was really fantastic technically, and maybe as a league they were ahead of many leagues, including the Argentine league. And he was talking about just the willingness to attack, the technique of the players. But when it comes to mentality and intangibles, the Argentina, even at those youth levels, they have the edge. Like they go on the field, they step on the field, they think they're better than you. And regardless whether the guy can dribble the ball more than 3 steps, or but I think now with this game, there's gonna be a mental aspect to it that I don't think they're gonna recover as fast as we expect them to. Unless Sampaoli completely cleans house, which I don't think he will.
I think that's Alberto Chiquis Campa joins us from Chicago. What's going on, Chiquis?
Hey, what's up? Just listening to Juan praise the Mexican technique.
Yeah.
Does that explain the Picolines and Diego Reyes and
Are you
some of our other?
Are you bad mouthing Picolín?
No, I'm saying that would explain why they played for so long.
Are you saying the age?
Technique.
Are you saying the age of a tronco is gone?
Técnica
The
Azteca.
Mexican youth teams were dominating for a while. Remember that.
He does have a point there. Chiquis, now that you're with us, did you get a chance to offer your observations for in 30 words or less with what you saw in the friendlies and what did it change your expectation for the upcoming tournament?
I think my expectations stay the same. I just sort of feel justified a little bit with my expectations.
So you're making it all about you.
I guess so.
Okay, all right.
But I like the win, the 3-0. But I didn't like how Osorio, whenever he found out that Croatia wasn't going to bring all their players, He got all
exactly. Why get upset? Just say, hey man, whoever's out there, we're gonna play them the same, and blah blah blah. There's so many ways you can go around that. But I'm say, well, it's with the team that we thought that was gonna be. It's like, come on, dude.
They beat us to the rotations, John. I guess he couldn't accept it.
That's right. That's right.
Madrugaron.
They rotated better than he does.
So right from the get-go, he said, he basically did. Not that it matters about the who won or lost the friendly, but in the World Cup, that was the Croatian coach, did Mexico a solid by criticizing. Like the one thing you can't ever do with a Mexican is criticize almost as a human being, or their machismo thing, and thank you, Croatian coach, for doing that, because it obviously motivated Mexico. I'm not saying that that's what Osorio did, but I mean it certainly could have had this been a more important game.
Was it Juan who asked the coach if there was a Mexican Messi?
Juan, did you ask Coach that?
No, I was in
or just Iceland?
Yeah. No.
What was it? To Rakitic? Someone did ask that question though.
Yeah, because there was like a comparison brought up between Mexico and Argentina. But that was for the Croatia game, I think.
Right.
I don't think it was. It definitely wasn't the Iceland game.
Picolín had long since retired, so the Mexican
and they haven't called up trophies, so
that's true. Trophies was not there.
That's right.
Or like
you know what? It was the Iceland coach. He brought up the Argentina-Mexico comparison. I remember now. He said that they were gonna play Argentina, and that Mexico and Argentina have a similar style. But I don't know if anybody asked him about a Mexican Messi. I sent.
No, I think that was.
We have audio of the whole thing, so I don't remember that question.
So, are you saying that we did not prepare appropriately for the podcast? Actually, you did send audio, and I did not get a chance to make any edits, but I do have to play this just because.
Is that so? Who made you Pope of this dump, huh?
I like it. But okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Chiquis. How is Chicago, Chiquis? Is it cold? Is it chilly there?
Yeah, it's pretty freezing. I just came back walking a few blocks from dinner. And it was
how many inches did you get the other night when we had a crazy rainstorm here in Central Texas?
Hey, that's a personal question.
I wasn't there for that. I heard.
You still want to?
Okay, you missed it.
I missed the rain.
Yeah, it was because I know down y'all's way, and like Onion Creek flooded and some other stuff. So I was like, it's always good. We're we live in the flash flood capital of the world. So anytime that it rains 2 or 3 inches, it could get pretty hairy for certain spots. So it's always a little nerve-wracking when a big storm comes through here. So Chiquis, so your expectation, it was you made it about yourself. So you felt justified in your opinion was validated with the play. So does that change your opinion then of what your expectation is for Mexico's upcoming performance, or how far they're going to get?
No, I think it's still going along with what I'm thinking. I think it's very possible that they go 3-and-out, but again, I don't. On the other side, I don't think these friendlies they'll be put in the past when it comes down to the tournament. And I think it'll just start from scratch, but yeah, there is some worry to be had.
We need Dan here for some positivity.
a little pump a little sunshine in.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a little sun, because I've been thinking about this for the past year or so. I've always thought that Osorio will ultimately not be an idiot and actually play players in their strongest positions. And you would hope in the most important games.
Speaking of the devil,
that was my
hope. Is that
hope.
Dan's music?
That was my hope, John. I just don't.
Oh, wait a second. Hang on a
He
second.
heard us.
He did. Daniel Preciado joins us from Escondido. Daniel, how are you, sir?
I'm licking the wounds, man, from that horrible friendly. I've been trying to not pay attention to any soccer.
Wow, that is not the positive vibe we were hoping that you would inject into the conversation.
No,
in fact, it's a little. It's just it's not what we were expecting, Dan. It's not what we were expecting.
Well, you have to understand. I got hit twice, man.
Yeah, you did. We haven't even talked about that, and that's actually. But we will talk about that here in a second. But Joel, before we talk about Dan's double whammy, please finish your thought.
Oh man, I forgot what I was saying.
Okay. So was it like desperately important?
Oh no, wait, I remember now. It just came
right.
Because you were talking about how Osorio was going to.
Oh yeah.
See the light ultimately and play the players where they excel best.
And then in certain situations, if a player needs to play somewhere, then hey, he already has experience. Go out and do it.
But that was my hope, but I just don't see it happening, man. I just don't think that's gonna happen. And there was this pretty good article. I think it was. Oh goddamn! No, it was this article about.
Was it a Penthouse Forum? What there was a start? I never thought.
Dear Penthouse, no. No, that's another one. Some rumor Profe was saying about Osorio cambiando or doing rotaciones with some females, but that's neither here nor there. This article is about it was about they were saying how he's not or he's too pragmatic.
The surrealism or pragmatism article?
Yeah, there you go. And it was talking about how that might be ultimately his downfall. See, because he said the one quote I remember the most, he said he wants Mexico to play like a big team. And I pat myself in the back when I said something similar a while back about he acts like he's coaching Holland 70 team.
Right. Brazil 70.
Yeah, man, you could just pick and choose. And that was the other thing where the guy was arguing that Mexico just lacks a lot of quality players to do a lot of the stuff that Osorio wants, where he tries to dominate even stronger teams.
Well, I will admit that I think that he overthinks a lot of things. I do believe that the Mexico would be play considerably better if things were simplified for them. A lot. Kind of like when Tuca says, "Hey boys, how do you want to play? Oh, let's play this. Great, let's practice that, and then we'll, if that's what you guys are comfortable with, we'll go out and do it." And then
and then he lost to the New York Red Bulls.
The Toronto.
Tuca won the game he had to win. You don't think Tuca could handle? You honestly, do you think Tuca would trot out a 3-4-3 against the Germans?
But you don't think he's going to do that against? You don't think he's going to do that against Germany?
I think Tuca's going to struggle against any bunker. So that means the Sweden game and possibly the Korean game he's going to lose.
And he wouldn't go out to win against Germany. He would go out to not lose.
He would play a 5-4-1 and just. But I will say the one thing that Tuca did, I remember when he coached, was it Argentina or Mexico against Argentina after
Argentina.
He did a 4-3-3 in that game.
He did, and he the minute that they took the ball away from Argentina, they just launched it to the two wingers, and it was very effective. It was extremely effective. And so I think that is again, I just think that Mexico has a real good chance to be lethal on a counterattack. Isn't that how Ghana gave Germany the business in Brazil? Because that was a terrific game, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Ghana got either one or both of them on great counterattacks.
You brought up that game, John, and I've been looking for video of it, and I've struggled.
Oh, stop it! I bet you if I just go Germany, Ghana, it'll pop right up.
The Russians have deleted all evidence of that game.
I'm pretty sure. I think I found one where the video is sideways, so I didn't have time to
flip it,
to fix it, and flip it, and reverse it and watch it.
You couldn't just turn your head
for 90 minutes.
Possibly.
But
Well,
anyway,
I'm kind of with what Hola was saying though, as far as the hope is that he's been kind of trolling us, and he's just been like consistently just tinkering with different people in different positions for. Because if he does have that mindset where I just need to have several options in case of anything, then I guess it wouldn't be a bad strategy to practice on, because the players are dropping like flies seemingly. So having guys to be able to plug in different positions, while it may not be ideal to us, it may work out positively. But I'm kind of with Hoyle in the same line, where I don't think that's what he's going at. I think he's got. I do think he's got his 11 for the strong matches, but I think against different opposition, weaker opposition, I think he's gonna probably go with the rotation of players. And based on the Iceland game, I kind of liked what I saw. I mean, if you're gonna go up against a bunker and you're not gonna be able to really open him up, so then maybe just take your chances on set plays, work for corners or for free kicks, and try to get your goals that way. I think it's a legitimate strategy. It's not what we're accustomed to. It's not what we want to see, but for the most part, it's been effective. So I don't necessarily think we're going to struggle against. I mean, they're going to struggle. I don't think they're going to be easy games, but I do think they're manageable. Where I think they have enough quality to get through any of those bunkers. The Germany, though, I think that's the one match that it again, to Hoyle's point, like if they lose bad, then they might as well. They might have already played themselves out of it. But if they could minimize the damage in that game, I do think they'll handle their business against Korea. I think there's been too much of a knee-jerk reaction and too much panic, a little bit too much. As far as not everybody. Like there was a lot of friendlies played, and not everybody, looked great in them. So to draw conclusions because Mexico looked terrible against Croatia. I mean, maybe against certain teams that might be the case, but against other opponents, I don't think it's necessarily doom and gloom yet.
I don't agree with the set pieces. I think if any of these teams bunker, Mexico's not going to be able to do what they want to do, and they're not good at set pieces, and they're not good at corners.
And you only have one
player
that's good at.
They're actually quite effective on set pieces, both on defense and on offense. They get a lot of their goals.
Mexico? Are we talking about Mexico? Yeah. No way, dude. The goals that Fabian scored and stuff, that was very rare, and actually that was sort of lucky.
Well, I'm not saying necessarily from a free kick. I'm saying from set plays. They do score a lot on set plays.
Not on no bunker. Not on no bunker. If these teams are smart, if Korea is smart and Sweden, they'll bunker.
What do you mean smart though? I mean, if you're sitting back, then that means you have 3/4 of the field. You're going to be able to bring the ball up 3/4 of the field forward. You could easily work to get corner kicks.
That's what I know. Mexico's not good at corner kicks. Mexico's not good.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree with that. I mean, that's
I think under Osorio
lining up a bunch of tall guys is because he wants to be strong on set plays, be either on offense or on defense. He thinks that's a weakness.
Good at corner kicks.
Okay, I mean, I don't have any stats with me, but I mean, I would think that's the one area where Osorio has improved the team dramatically is on set plays.
It's absolutely well documented. Also,
I think at least in not giving up set piece goals, I think they have improved because he plays with all tall defenders.
Yeah, defending corners and set pieces, Mexico has improved.
But is the trade-off worth giving up just massive chunks of space on the field?
No,
against good offense. See, I agree. I agree with Rico. It's not worth. I would rather take my chances on a set piece than to give up, a 30-yard gap to a guy who's really good with the ball and is incredibly fast.
Now, keep in mind, there's been, studies of the statistics as far as, how, the way goals are scored in the World Cup, and one of the main ways that goals are scored in World Cups and and in soccer in general is usually it's a quick counterattack, or a corner or a set piece. Where, in other words, so it kind of the way he's trying to play the whole possession and lots of passing, the way Spain did it's less likely to lead to a goal. And if you play fast, if you get a corner or a set piece play, you're more likely to score.
I mean, how did Mexico score against Croatia in the 2014? They scored 2 off corners and 1 off a quick counter.
In the two, yeah, with under
Piojo.
Yeah,
that's the kind of baffling thing about his style, though. Is like he does set up a bunch of players that are geared toward like an aerial game, but yet he insists on playing from the back.
See, I have a big problem. I remember one time, I think it was Carlos de los Cobos, when he was coaching El Salvador, had the U.S. play in El Salvador. And instead of walking it up, with the U.S. and then giving up the stupid pass, he instructed his goalkeeper and his team to just launch it on every goal kick, period. And just throw it up there, as a 50-50 ball, because I guess, his mind is like, their midfield isn't necessarily that good to keep the and who knows where the ball is going to bounce, etc. So I mean, I would like to see Osorio do more of that. And when was the last time you saw a goalie actually launch it under Osorio? It hardly ever happens.
I mean, Osorio wants total 90 football, and the players that he has just can't do it. To a certain point, at a certain point, you have to be like, are these guys executing?
Hang on a second. So is that his end game then? Is that why he's been playing, players out of position for a few things at certain times, because he is going to do is he going to do rotaciones on the field? Because I think he's going to do the Dutch thing.
I think what he wants, what he calls is multifuncional. Like, so they play a lot of different positions. They, and you see him try to do it. Like the other day against Croatia, he had Chucky playing on the left wing first. Then he had him on the right wing. Then he had him at cam. He had Layun playing as a midfielder, and then his job was to also drop back as a right back, and then come up as a right wing. And I think that's what he would like all his players to do, is to be able to play a lot of different positions. And I just don't think that's a strength of the Mexican player. I don't think we have a lot of guys that can do that.
Sounds like somebody's stamping a bunch of passports right now.
In the Iceland game, one thing I did notice is anytime Iceland had the ball wide, ready to send in a cross into the Mexico's box, Diego Reyes would become I don't know if you guys were able to see it on TV, but he would become like the 5th defender. You would have Nestor Araujo marking the crossing player, and then Diego Reyes would actually come in and track
They didn't play
forwards.
Together. Huh? Reyes came in for Araujo, didn't he?
No, in the first game.
In the Iceland game.
Oh, okay.
So that was probably the most significant part of the whole weekend, or week actually, and I wish I could say we were waiting for Dan to hop on, but we just hadn't got around to it. But yeah, so Mexico could have potentially lost their best defender for the World Cup, and it's now, if he does come back, certainly where he won't necessarily be at 100%. So pretty big bullet that Mexico dodged there, but. I think back to when they play on fields that aren't naturally grass fields, the playing surface isn't already sod to begin with. And I see that World Cup bid that the U.S. sent out, where a lot of the stadiums are going to be like that. And I see a play like what happened in Minnesota, where his foot gets caught on the grass, and it just no bueno, and I don't know how. I mean, I think
what's
that's
the official word on it? Have they announced what's the projected recovery?
Yeah, it was announced. If it was, I'm not sure.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, 4 to 6 weeks. It was a torn meniscus, and he sprained his MCL. So
it's not that bad, actually.
Well, obviously, it could have been a lot worse. You're right. But yeah, he'll be out 4 to 6 weeks, and
Yeah, I think
Well,
of
that's got to
all the
be encouraging
injuries.
for everybody because I do think I know. I mean, at least I've read a lot of people. He's not obviously. I think the defense in general gets unfairly criticized.
No, it's fair.
You
But
think
I
it's
think
fair
he's
that they get criticized as much as they do?
yeah, they're bad.
Yeah,
I don't think they're bad. I
Except
think
Araujo.
they're
Araujo is the best one.
they're exposed and they're made to.
they're
Their
put in a
biggest
bad
weaknesses are
position.
Is
exposed.
it because of the midfield, Dan?
I think that's a big part of it. There's no
Okay.
good defensive midfielder to protect them.
Well, but hang on a second. It's not just the midfield. I think it's a very specific part of the midfield, and it's something that we discussed.
And think about
after
when they
that
look
game
bad,
negotiation.
though. I mean, when they look at their worst is when somebody coughs the ball up in the middle of the field, and then there's yards of space. No one's gonna look good in those types of positions.
No,
I mean,
but Araujo
but
is a
Herrera,
lot
is he,
better.
Hector, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say Araujo is a lot is a better defender than the rest of the crop that they have there. He
Hector Moreno
might
is heaven. You know, he just is not. You know, he's definitely on the downhill slide.
He might not be. He might physically. He might not have the same. Like those other guys might be faster, but positioning and just like smarts, Araujo's above and beyond those other guys.
And he's got a great long ball too.
Yeah.
You like his long balls, John?
His long ball passes are very close to Rafa's.
they're surprisingly soft.
They're soft and bounce.
No,
softly
I think
and supply when they land.
I think his injury not being too bad is one of the upsides of this.
Hey, you know what, Rigo? I think you're right in as far as rating Araujo compared to the other guys because I mean even I think Osorio might agree with you because in the Iceland game, like the first 18 minutes, Salcedo was kind of struggling a little bit to deal with the counter, and so he switched Araujo and Salcedo. So he put Salcedo as the central back, and Araujo moved to the right. And I think he did a little better defending the counter attack and the wide areas in general.
I mean, if there's one thing that I'll give Osorio credit for is Araujo, is bringing him to the national team because I mean I had never heard of him.
Well, he played in the Copa America in 2011. Actually, he scored against Chile. He was like 19, I think, when he did it, and they were up 1-0 in the first game. He scored on a corner kick, believe it or not.
I think Beto hated the guy. I think Beto should apologize.
I don't remember hating him, dude.
And he also was on the Olympic team, but he was the only one out of the 18 players that did not
play.
That did not play. Like he didn't get any minutes, but he was on the team.
You know who loved Araujo, man? Especially his beard. Our fellow friend Christian.
IMD?
Yeah. he had a man crush on that beard, dude.
I wanted to start a Twitter account of Araujo's beard.
I mean, it's clear why Osorio likes him. I mean, I watch him probably more than anybody on this panel, and like, yeah, I mean, the guy does have a bit of class with the ball at his feet.
But you know what's funny? You know what's funny is that I don't see the same thing. I think he's better on the national team than he is for Santos. From what I've seen him play on Santos, I mean, I don't watch him week in, week out. But when I have seen him play on Santos and I see him play on the national team, he plays better on the national team. I mean, then there are some guys that are national team players. Like
he's had his moments though on the defense that we were talking about. When I think Dan mentioned that when the midfielders screw up or push forward too much, and the defense does as well, that they get totally exposed. Araujo's been part of that as well. So it's like,
but they all have. They all have.
Yeah, they all.
Moreno's been caught in it.
You got to have order in the back line, man.
They're just not cool under pressure, and that's the issue. I mean, I think we all see it. Like they're if the pressure's light, then they look really classy. Right. You know, they look really comfortable with the ball at their feet, and they're able to move the ball however they want to whatever side and create the play like that. But if it's a team that knows how to press well, the team, you could see them get tight. Like the passes just immediately become less accurate.
Less accurate and very very telegraphed as well. I mean, it just seems like you would just wish that they're coached and trained. Hey, defender, if you feel like they're sort of and just why not send it up to a winger? Just send a 50-50 ball up there. Maybe something crazy is going to happen. I'd rather lose possession, inside the other team's 18 than, just inside the center circle with nothing but 50 yards between the goalie and the last guy.
Correct. Hey, if South Korea and Sweden are listening to this podcast,
they are.
Yeah, I'm
here
sure.
are the two keys to beat they should to scout Mexico, because these are the two keys to press when Mexico tries to bring it from the back, and then to bunker afterwards. That's the way you beat Mexico right there.
Yeah,
He's giving out state secrets.
I have a feeling that Beto was one of those kids that like rooted for the evil empire, in the old the old.
He rooted for the Cobras.
Yeah, and the Cobras, in Karate Kid.
And also on G.I. Joe, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, G.I. Joe too.
And what were the other?
I like the ninjas, man. I like the what is it, the white ninja?
Joel, help me out. The Transformers. What are the Decepticons?
Yeah.
Good Lord. I'm sorry, Joel. I'm embarrassed.
I had the pistol. Megatron.
And the white ninja is Storm Shadow.
Storm Shadow.
Oh, Storm Shadow.
What a great name.
Oh, and also I did find it funny how they would pick on Danny LaRusso.
They would pick on him. It was his fault.
I've heard actually that there's a movie coming out.
It's already out.
Is it
it's on YouTube. It's a YouTube.
Johnny?
Yeah.
I think he's the bad guy now. I think Daniel he's a bully.
Right.
He works at a car. He works as a car salesman. I don't know if he owns a car lot, but he's like a car salesman. And
the roles have reversed.
And Johnny helped some kid out there was gonna get jumped. And so he starts the Cobra Kai. But then Daniel doesn't like it, so he's like,
Yeah, but Johnny's teaching him the bad way, though. He's teaching him to be the way he was. So that's sort of bad. Danny's just being like he's being pompous. He's being like
that was what made it bad was the sensei, was the teacher, that he was actually abusing the kid, man. He was.
Yeah, that's what this guy. And now he's teaching kids to be like over aggressive. I mean, it's in a good way because he's.
They need to be aggressive now with today's.
Yeah, but it shows the kid beating up some dude so he can get some girl, man.
Hey, but see, at least he's not gonna like take a gun to school and just lit it up, man.
Yeah.
This podcast took a lot.
Putazos, no balazos, way. They're old school.
I'm dropping off, guys. It was great talking.
Well, Rigo, always a pleasure to have you on. I know that you had to hop up, but we're glad that you're able to make it. And good luck this week with your Chivas, and we'll talk next week.
All right, later, guys.
Later,
Rigoberto Ayala joining us, as he always occasionally does here on the CantinaMX podcast, bringing the opening, firing the opening salvo tonight, after feeling that his inflammatory comments he made.
You know what? I think he got upset at the spoilers over here with these two guys. Call earmuffs at least, guys. Earmuffs.
Spoilers about the movie.
About the new Karate Kid, yeah, man. I'm gonna check it out, but now don't spoil the plot.
I think you need that YouTube subscription, the YouTube Red or whatever it is.
Oh,
wait.
Man.
So if Nestor is not 100%, and I wish that that obviously that won't be the case. Who would then get first crack? Would it be Alanis or would it be Montes?
Oh, I hope not.
Man. I think he would give it to Alanis, even though personally I'll go with Montes, but Osorio seems to be a fan of Alanis.
I was at the.
I don't think we'll see Alanis since he's doesn't he typically play on the left side, and isn't that Moreno's side?
That doesn't matter to Juan Cambios Osorio, man.
I do think it matters to him.
He's
He
like,
likes
hold
to
my
play.
beer.
He'd rather have a player with his perfil
He'll
natural.
play wherever he wants him to play, way.
You
I
know what?
mean,
What about Edson Alvarez though?
no, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking either Edson or possibly possibly Reyes.
I
as
personally
well.
think Edson Alvarez should be the starting center midfielder in this thing. But before Rigo went off, and I think that this could be the answer. Do you guys think it's possible that we might see the Mexican version of total football with this guy, with him training these guys for the past 3 years now to play in different positions? I mean, is this something that he's just going to unleash at the World Cup?
Well, you know what?
No.
Okay, you know what, John?
No.
There's a quote. I think Jolie will enjoy this, and he's a big Argentina fan. But he says, "Playing very badly for 2 months was a strategy to confuse Boca." And this is a quote from River Plate's coach Marcelo Gallardo after they beat Boca in the Super Final, so for the championship, the Argentine championship. So it's possible.
It's impossible. No, I think for something like that to happen, Osorio would need at least 2 cycles, and to be like to coach the Olympic team as well, and have like the coaches, even from the youth coaches, follow his system.
Right.
And then he would have a big base of players that grew up playing together and playing that style, that by the time they're in the senior team, they already know what they have to do.
They might be following his style, Jolie, because Juan Carlos Ortega is still on his coaching staff, and from what I remember, under Chepo, that guy was he was like the head tactician for the youth teams, and he was like Chepo's right hand man.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know I heard his name.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was from back then. I thought he had came with JCO's group.
No, he's been in the
Did his
FMF
stock just jump up a few points, Joel?
To me, it did, yeah.
you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Chepo's really running the team behind the scenes, dude. When I heard Juan Carlos Ortega's name, I'm thinking this guy's got a direct line, a back channel straight to Chepo, and Chepo calls him up and says, "Hey, fix this, call up this player."
Nah, man, I don't.
Hey,
I just think he's good at what he does, so he's.
So you think that it's a good idea, Joel, but it's not. The execution is just not there.
Yeah, because we just lack players. It's a theme we keep coming back to, John, where it's like we only have.
We have strength to carry on this mighty task in one night.
Yeah,
Monty Python. It's coming to Netflix, man.
Yeah, man. We only have like 12 players in Europe. About half of them are like starters. The other ones are like bench or journeyman. So I think for that, we would need twice, maybe 3 times as many players and doing good to pull off some of that stuff. So that we're just cutting ourselves short.
So once again, it boils down to, I look at this World Cup kind of like I looked at 2006, where I think Mexico has I think better offensive players, but more vulnerable defensively. Whereas that team was the opposite; it was very good defensively, but had no offense at all. And they'll do enough to get to the round of 16, but then after that, they might give Brazil another one of those. I don't even want to say it, but you all know the phrase. And
El clásico.
Well, yeah, exactly. Just add another one to the pelt of the jugamos como nunca tapestry, and people will talk como I don't know how many times I've heard people say como le casi ganamos Argentina. Come on, Or my friend Ruben Pizarro, who lives in Monterrey, who in '86 was in the stadium. Sorry, Juan, was in the stadium in '86 when Germany played in the quarterfinals against Mexico and they ended up losing the penalty kicks. And he said, estaba atrás del gol. No era foul cuando le anularon el gol al Abuelo Cruz. Every time I bring up that game, sabes que le anularon el gol al Abuelo Cruz. Just every single time. So ahí estaba, lo vi. So I'm sorry, Juan. Go ahead.
No, well, I think you're right. I think the refs have definitely played a part when Mexico plays Argentina. I mean, in 2006, you had Maxi Rodriguez diving all over the field. Every time he felt a breeze, and the ref would buy the dives.
Well, so this is why I wish that the coaches have. I firmly believe that Vasco Aguirre in the France game in the World Cup, seeing the way that the French were getting away with murder with the ref. I mean, just basically, the ref was going to call it a certain way, so we're going to play that way. And Mexico started doing the same thing, and they ended up getting a penalty out of it, and they ended up winning the game. But
yeah, I think yeah, man.
Yeah,
and in South Africa, the same thing. The refs once again played a big part. In Mexico's. In this case, it was a meltdown, but it all started with that offside goal.
That 6-yard offside goal.
Yeah, that one.
That was a blatant one, man. That almost ruined my. I was in San Francisco with the now wife, and it nearly ruined my trip. That was it's like you have to. You so many things are going to have to go right to beat Argentina, and then when you get something like that go against your way, it's like, why even bother, man?
Hey,
like if you're gonna give them that, dude, like we got no chance.
Right before that, Dan, we were one pass away from having from Bofo being the RG killer that he's known for. He was wide open. Cheech had a easy pass to Bofo.
He didn't see him.
He never saw him. The pass never went through, and I think, that was Bofo's main reason to be there, to be the RG killer.
That's why I was on the squad. And I applaud Aguirre for making that decision. I mean, why not? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I mean, at least that's
players
the only
like
good
him,
thing I
players
can say.
like Cuauhtemoc, they have to be on the team, either as a starting role or as a substitute. I think you have to have guys that can create something, that can get under the skin of people. Like that's why I love those two guys too. I mean, those are two of my favorite players of all time, just because of their creativity, their smarts, their savvy, their ability to get under people's skin. I mean, that's a skill that you could really exploit in important games.
I was about to ask you if you think that the Giovanni Dos Santos deserves the same
reverence.
No. But the answer, with the way you just described both those guys, the answer is a firm no, because he is nowhere near that kind of player.
He's different, and not to say that he's not as good as Bofo. I mean, I don't think he's as good as Cuauhtemoc. I think he's better than Bofo was, but different approach to how they approach the game. Giovanni, I think, mostly relied on his skill. He didn't. I don't think he doesn't seem like he likes to incorporate any of the mental aspects, the dark arts.
Hey, to answer Sergio Cruz's question, yes, if Bofo's a RG killer, he earned that reputation in Copa Libertadores, playing for Chivas, and I think probably Jolie can, expand on that a little more.
How many goals did he score against Boca, Joel? I think we lost Joel. He must have stepped away. I think it was wasn't it a hat trick?
I think so, because I know there was like the spitting incident and the mucus,
I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm back, gentlemen.
Did Bofo get a hat trick against Boca?
Oh, I know he scored 2 goals. One of them from way far out.
But for like 35 yards, right?
Yeah. Those were all at the Jalisco though, and then it was 0-0 at the Bombonera.
But they were rustled by him clearly, right? They hated
him. When you get someone to spit at you, you did something right, man.
Yeah, Palermo and the coach. And there's this one scene where some guy jumps into the field to try to like attack him. And when he goes back in the stands, you see the security guard helping him. You
Don't
could
get
clearly
caught, bro.
see him. Which was like a bit surreal, but yeah.
Yeah, that deserves a.
That's right, Jan.
You know, John, I get sometimes accused of being a little anti-Chiva, dude. But you know, I tip my hat to the ones who I think deserve it, in my personal opinion. And you know, and Bofo is definitely a dude that much respect. I didn't think, you know, I know we talked about it already, but his inclusion in that World Cup squad was warranted, in my opinion.
You know, he was doing really good with Jaguares, and I think people forget that how well he was playing with that team. And then in the friendly games that were leading up, he looked good, and against what I think it was Holland and Italy, and he looked good. But then once the World Cup started, he didn't play a single match of the first round, and then they threw him in there.
Lo estaba escondiendo.
Yeah, they started him in, and everything just went wrong. And I think.
Well, let's not pretend that other coaches didn't do that, because 4 years previous, La Volpe did the exact same thing, but with Guardado.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, you know what? Just to add on, Bofo was doing so well, and how he had Jaguares playing so well that even Vela's older brother, I don't know if you guys remember him, Alejandro Vela got called up, you know, to a few friendlies.
Yeah, they were
because
teammates.
of Bofo?
Yeah.
Oh man, I had almost forgotten about his brother. That's true, man.
Alejandro?
You think he's a big basketball fan too?
He's probably here in LA, man.
You know what's funny though? They look very similar on the ball. I mean, a bit. For a moment, like they're like, you know, they definitely look like brothers, you know. But then, you know.
Dan, I thought you said they kind of look similar, and I'd be like, I wouldn't be surprised if he has his brother play a couple games for him. He could go.
They can get away with it, man.
Yeah, he could go see a concert or something. No one's gonna know. It's like dropping form.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would catch it.
I was hoping that we would have some crema on the show tonight, but we did not get any, and so I was hoping to talk a little of the America Cruz Azul, the big game.
Oh, that is the big game, John.
Over the weekend. You know, in my opinion, probably the second biggest rivalry in Liga MX. I think you know different than the Monterrey and Guadalajara games, but just because both teams had won so much, you know, at a certain point in their histories. And I did get to see Cruz Azul play against Monterrey. I was the spotter on the field. Actually, my arm and I think my wristwatch made it on TV. And Cruz Azul got some. I was surprised with how big they are. I mean, they were some big boys playing for Cruz Azul. And I got to see Chaco's kid, Santiago Jimenez. He played for a little bit as a striker, and I was just curious to see how fans felt about him. They're like, "Please start as you know, we're so terrible at that position. We might as well give him a chance." So maybe we'll see more of Chaquito play for Cruz Azul. And then the other guy that I was very impressed with was Montes. Man, that guy is a monster. He is like every bit of 6'4", 200 and whatever pounds, 220 pounds. He is that guy, and he's a good player, man. He's good with the ball. He's excellent in the air. He's a great. He's really good around the goal, offensively. You know, like on set plays. He's going to be a superstar, I think. Montes. I'm not sure why he's still at Monterrey, to be honest with you. He's the kind of guy that it's not the the Sporting Gijons and the Udineses of the world. I mean, that's the kind of player that the big boys come and look for.
So what is the deal with him? I mean, he's a fringe player on the NT at best.
Well, he's only 19 or 20 years old.
I get that, but he's been playing for a while already, though. I mean,
he has, and I'm not sure. He started with Salcedo at the Olympic team, and they were, they looked good together. They were a good pairing. It's like, this should be the pairing for the next 10 years.
And don't you think, like, if he's, and I don't know. I mean, like, I know Moreno. He's like the most tenured guy, but and I know I'm a little bit biased with Araujo, but like, he's still relatively young still. Also, why not bring in, like, if you see that much potential and he's already, I mean, he's got his position locked down on one of the better teams in Liga MX. You would think that he'd get more reps. I mean, Edson Alvarez gets more reps.
Osorio rates him as much because he probably, has a big bug up his ass. Well, he's only good with his right foot and not his left. Well, God, he's a defender. He's not, he's not Chicharito.
Yeah, he's a defender. He's a defender.
And a good one at that. So I bet you that has something to do with it.
I have found it curious though that and we get to see guys like Alanis and Ayala continually get reps where the majority of us probably think that, man, I'd rather see other guys get a chance before those two.
Sounds like somebody's like stamping passports right now.
Oh, that's me, John. Sorry about that.
Are you, Joel? Are you
pounding his fists?
Are you stamping passports?
No.
You got a little side business going there, Joel? Are you?
I was trying to get in the chat because I was missing it, but I couldn't find the tab. Ya llegué.
Okay.
Maybe he sells micas on the download, dude.
en el Parque MacArthur.
Ándale.
It's funny. I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like,
hey, those guys, hey, Jan, those guys just said they got your crema right here.
Yeah, I saw that. I was gonna. This show is officially. This show is officially descremada free. Let's not.
This is why nobody likes him.
Forget that. I'm sorry.
This is why nobody likes him.
Who's that? America
fans.
Yeah, exactly.
They take it there.
I mean, from the get-go. I mean, just from the very start. They don't. There's no romance. Just they come out guns hot from the very beginning.
Yeah,
I wonder where our local
Put it back in the holster, man. Put it back in the holster.
That's exactly right. But as far as Montes is concerned, I mean, I do believe that it's because Osorio just doesn't rate him as high as the other guys for whatever. Maybe he's like, well, he's too young. I'm not sure what it is, but
do you think you do think he's in the minority, and you do think he's probably going to be in Europe relatively soon?
I think that had he been playing on the national team and starting right now and being the starter in the World Cup, which I think he could easily do, honestly, I think that he would absolutely be well on his way to doing that. But like you said, it just is not getting the opportunity.
So who's going to be our coach then moving forward?
Well, that's a good question.
You think those brainiacs at the FMF are pondering on that now? I would hope so, but I doubt it. Yeah.
Hey, wasn't Almeida been the biggest one? The biggest rumor since forever.
Wait,
yeah,
rumor
but the
for
season
what?
is these last two seasons
the Mexican national team
are hurting his chances.
But you know what? But that's what it was. Rumor. I think his agent has been very good at that, at promoting Almeida, because you could go back. There's been offers for him pretty much since day one. If it wasn't Newell's, it was Racing, it was San Lorenzo. The newspaper article that came out in England in some type of Inquirer type newspaper.
Daily Mail. or the son.
Yeah, one of those, man. They were talking about Almeida to the EPL. So I just think that's just always been his promoter, just to keep him in the limelight. The rumor right now is Almeida to Monterrey. That's the
What?
main one.
So
Yeah.
you know what? Because you know what, La Volpe, he has that YouTube blog. He's been touting Monterrey as a big team now. So I wonder if and has him what's his name, Mohamed, like being kind of the big candidate right now for Mexico too.
He got the boot in the game I was doing. And like in the 30th minute, it was pretty funny. He's another candidate. There's no question, and he's. But I have a feeling it'll be Piojo.
Yeah, Piojo's been getting a lot of love lately, even from traditional rivals. Wasn't Joserra promoting him a few weeks back?
Well, there you have it. It's official. If that's really the case, then whatever problemas Piojo had are officially now lifted.
Yeah, and you saw that they kind of dropped it. There wasn't that much noise made from the whole Toluca thing with Cristante, the whole trying to give him the choke slam. And what happened?
Is that gonna be the new bofeteada?
Nah, I don't think it went anywhere. I think he just
Cachetea Martianoli? You don't think so?
No, I mean if he would have actually done it, but he didn't.
Oh, he did, right? He slapped him, right?
No. Cristante grabbed Piojo by the neck.
No, but Martinoli. I'm talking about Piojo slapping Martinoli.
He
the putazo.
He probably gave him a little. What did I call that? I gave that a name, but yeah, it probably will be that. Yeah.
The bofeteada a Martinoli.
El bofetazo. Con guante blanco.
Yeah. Well, that was the putazo.
That was how when Mexico won the Olympic team. That was how Jose Ramon ate his words. Bofetado con guante blanco, mi cara. That was it's like, really, dude. That's how you're gonna take your lumps. Somebody, please give me a couple of slaps on my face with my white gloves.
Oh, dude. I think he was so disappointed, right?
Well, I think I've mentioned this before. They were interviewing Jesus Corona's family, and the mom or one of his relatives said, he said you must be. It was like, oh yeah, were you sad that they won, or like you, or something like that? Like you must have been sad that they won. To the TV guys, I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think the only one was happy was I remember Martinoli saying he wanted to be buried next to or with Cepillo,
Now that's another one. So last week Joel mentioned that a phone call was made last week, and the very faintly voice says, "Is like, you will make sure that you have Oribe Peralta on the World Cup team." And then hangs up, and then the next day at the press conference, Osorio announces, "Yeah, I'm going to take 3 forwards, and of course, Oribe is on the list." But he did not play in either of these 2 games.
No, he played in the Iceland.
Oh, he played against Iceland. You're right. I forgot. He did play against Iceland.
Hey, I'm on it today, John. I paid attention.
You are killing it, dude. You are absolutely just smoking us.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
And then as far as the forwards, again, for whatever reason, at least in the actually no, there wasn't really anything to write home about from that position at all. I mean, Chicharito, when he played, didn't get any service at all. When he was in a danger position, he seemed to always be offside. Unfortunately for him, he didn't really. he didn't really make his presence. He didn't have any kind of impact on the game at all, which was unfortunate. But then I could probably say the same for Raúl Jiménez and for Oribe. So
it was it really their fault?
No, not at all. But and I did see Javier, hustle back to try and be part of the build-up, and it was just I think that was probably the most disappointing part of the whole Croatia match was that Mexico did not generate one decent.
I thought I was disappointed in the starting lineup with the inclusion of Gobea, who I believe plays more of a defensive midfield role with his club in Belgium, where I thought maybe since he's always touting the abilities of Jonah Gonzalez as a player with more attacking ability, why not put him there?
Right.
I thought that was like, once Herrera wasn't going to be able to start, and that's another disappointing thing too, and why I have lingering questions, because I think if Mexico's at their strongest, if they have their absolute best players available, I do think they're capable of putting up a good game against anyone, but they're not deep, and you see that with just a couple players missing, the level drops dramatically. Gobea, I don't know. I don't like him in that position. If anything, I thought he was more of a holding midfielder role, not as an attacking role. And I think that's what that position, the way he has him playing, it requires an ability to connect with the forwards, and I don't see that creativity in him.
Well, I guess that's what's so frustrating for me with Osorio is that the one position where Mexico is just, for what he wants to do, is just for whatever reason he just refuses to put somebody who is a top-notch defensive midfielder. Period. But it just for whatever reason he can't get past the fact that they're only 5'7" or they're only 5'5" or whatever it is. They're not 6'4" like Diego Reyes, and I'm sitting thinking, man, Diego Reyes is.
Well, John, I think what it is, it's going to be a criticism, or it's a point that Martin del Palacio brought up on Twitter. We were discussing it, and those guys, what are they called, soccer nerds, where they bring out all these stats and stuff,
right?
And their point was that Osorio's trying to go with players that are more well-rounded, even in the back. So the guy that's going to play defensive mid or holding mid, he's got to be able to to distribute. So basically what they're saying is that he's looking for a Tony Cruz or a Pavel Pardo, or even a Torrado in his early days with the national team, or, as the younger version of Torrado.
Right.
But I
get that, but he's trying all the wrong players, man. I mean, that's the part that I don't understand. It's like if your system is predicated on the style of play you have, where your entire team moves, up and down in unison, and you put just ridiculous amounts of unnecessary pressure on your back line, you need that central defender who's going to defend first, and then maybe be the first line of defense, period. And he just doesn't have that guy, because Herrera just doesn't have and it's nothing against him at all. Don't get me wrong, but that's not how he's wired. He's not.
I personally think Jonathan could do, Dos Santos could do a decent job at it in that role. Not so much defensively, but I think protecting, like a lot. I think he'd be able to alleviate a lot of those horrible errant passes that expose the defensive line. I think he'd be able to fix a lot of that, because he does play a lot of simple balls. He's not scared to just let's just pass the ball back and forth a little bit to draw them out a little bit. He's smart. He's really smart, and while he's not the most imposing player defensively, I think he'd be able to protect the ball a lot probably better than anybody else can, outside of maybe Rafa.
And that's the thing is that he plays the Herrera Dos Santos Guardado midfield, which you think, oh, this is going to be great. But then he makes Herrera, puts Herrera in the middle and Dos Santos on the right. It's like, dude.
Yeah. Because you want to see, at least I like to see Herrera take those chances where in a position where he's not endangering the entire back line,
right,
and exposing them to because he does take chances. He will try to play the fancy play.
Yeah, I mean that's where he's at his best. But make him, think that he has to go back and cover something that he's not necessarily as good at. Just so I mean, it's very hard for me, Juan. I'll let you jump in. For me to think that Mexico's have any kind of success where their absolute weakest position is the most important one, in my opinion, on the field, which is the defensive midfielder. Go ahead, Juan.
What I don't get, to me, it doesn't make sense, is for the past 2 cycles. Jonathan Dos Santos hasn't really been deployed. He hasn't really played much for Mexico. He hasn't really brought to the team what he has. And I remember making this point in earlier podcasts that Jonathan Dos Santos, he was gonna be the guy that could quarterback it if you put 2 more athletic center mids in front of him, because he's just not very, he's not very fast. He's a little, his pace, his first 5 steps are a little slow. So it's kind of like watching a semi, get up to speed. So if he had guys that can cover him, I mean, you can make it work. And I think Guardado and Herrera, who are more active, they've got more energy, and with Dos Santos sitting behind them, kind of distributing to the wings and even connecting with that midfield. Like for years, for me, I see it like the way you guys see it, but I don't know, the managers, every manager Mexico doesn't see it.
His cambio de juego, dude.
Yeah,
ridiculous, man. With either foot. Like nobody's able to do that like him. I mean, he buys the way I see it, on if the team is attacking, with his quick thought and his ability to kick the ball with either foot accurately and change the field of play, he buys your offense a couple of critical extra seconds where it could be enough to just create a goal chance. I mean, that's especially in an international game where you're going to be playing, it's going to be faster paced. You need that extra little bit of time to be able to make the right decision or to get an extra time on the ball that I think he provides. And yeah, man, I saw it too. Like, I think we've been seeing it for the last possibly even 3 cycles where we don't see. There's no better passer on the national team squad than him.
He's a very elegant player. He's
Now, with him on the midfield, remember before the whole the hooker gate thing where they all got suspended going to Copa America. But right before they played Colombia, they played Colombia's full strength team. Remember,
right?
That U23 team played Colombia, and they absolutely played them off the field.
Oh, I was so looking forward to that Copa America with it was he and Fabian and I mean, they had a really good team, and of course they all the really good. David Cabrera was on that, and they were the ones that were having the.
Did that team make it to the next round?
No, that was the first time in Copa America that Mexico was kicked because they
had to send the. Yeah,
and I remember CONMEBOL was like, "Really, you're going to suspend the players for this?" I mean, they were like, "Really?"
That's the one where CONCACAF didn't let Mexico take any of them.
I was okay with that because I mean, there's no way with Mexico having more players in Europe, there's no way a club's going to let a player play 2 tournaments in a summer. It's just not going to happen. So I was cool with you, especially with as Juan said, they played Colombia really well. They played Ecuador really well. I mean, they were on the verge of it was going to be a great little team.
Well, they did win the gold medal, so they were an interesting team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were very talented. It was a talented group. You are exactly right. But anyway, back to the current condition of the squad. So Dan, you say that Govea is more of a defensive midfielder, and again, they have him in a situation where he's not playing. There's not playing to his strength.
That's what I see. I don't see a very dynamic player. And from what I gather, I mean, I could be wrong, but from what I gather and what I've seen, what little I've seen from his time in Belgium is that he does play more of a central midfielder role, like in the center of the midfield. So it seemed like an odd place to slot him in, and maybe he wanted to create a little bit of balance in the midfield and to have Pizarro roam more freely. I don't know if that was maybe, but
it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yes, Juan.
You know what? Since we're talking about the midfielders and stuff, is it true Jonathan Gonzalez can still get called up by the U.S.?
No, not true at all. He
filed the paperwork.
He basically filed like the one time. The one time switch where you burn. I mean, you burn your bridge and you're done and you can't do it. So no, that's categorically false. That he can switch back to the States. Just like Jesse Gonzalez, the goalkeeper for FC Dallas, I'm about to call him Dallas Burn, for FC Dallas, cannot go back to Mexico.
Yeah, he did the one-time switch too.
He did the one-time switch.
Well, I mean, whatever. I just don't think it's a smart choice. I mean, all the players that have done it, going from Mexico to the U.S., they've kind of they fall out of the picture. Like what's the name? Homie.
Well, didn't Homie go to? Didn't he go to the World Cup?
Did he go?
Did he going? I thought he did.
Man, that's one that I really got wrong.
El Homie.
I man, like his speed was just crazy. Like, and when he was like, on the rare occasion when the play worked out for him, man, like he'd smoke his defender. So as far as an attacking left back, the dude was crazy fast, but Carson did him in, man. Him like many others.
No, so El Homie evidently did not make the World Cup. He only got as far as the Gold Cup match, but he was also on the Preolímpico that Hugo had, and he's one of the quemados. So
it does seem though that the U.S. seems to be more, and I don't know if you can really draw that conclusion, but on some level it appears that they're capping players just to
not let Mexico.
At the off chance that like either way, we win. Like if he turns out good, great. If not, but it's one less player for them to pick from, which is fair. I mean, I think that's where the players have to make some tough decisions on who they really want to represent.
I think Francisco Torres is another guy. Well,
but he did make it to the.
He went to the World Cup.
He played in South Africa. Yeah, he played in South Africa. Do you think all those quemados from the Preolímpico in 2008 are they like Bran Stark in Game of Thrones when the Night King grabs him and he has or Harry Potter just has a death scar on them for life.
Mark.
They can't shake it.
That's why I was so happy to hear about Landin and apparently having success in Costa Rica. I didn't follow him. I wasn't following him, but from a coworker tells me he's a big fan of Herediano, and they're really happy with him. I was like, that's great, man. I'm happy to see the guy doing well because that of course it impacted all those players' careers. It's clear.
I mean, I think back at all the ones that were on that team, and the only one that I can remember who has survived relatively unscathed was Ochoa. Everyone else is, I mean, some are no longer playing altogether. Some just fell off the face of the earth after that.
I honestly, like in hindsight, see it as one of the more tragic things as far as like soccer goes, as far as the national team and players that had futures or bright futures. One of the more tragic things that I think I've seen, because like we saw our coach get fired for really no good reason. It was just an incredible just an incredible circumstances that lined up in that game that arguably ruined that entire generation of players.
Hey, Dan, or Jolie, you guys go to those games because they were here in Carson? I think
I did.
You went?
Yeah.
You remember Hugo getting the La Volpe chance when they were struggling? I think it was against Canada. They lost they were losing against Canada, and he started getting a La Volpe chance.
Yeah.
So what was it? So they tied Canada, or did they beat Canada? But they lost to Guatemala, right?
I don't even remember. I just remember that one fateful game.
They played ID, and they had to win by, was it 5 or 6 goals? And they were just missing chance after. I mean, like
they could have won 12-0.
Yeah, 5-0, and they would miss the goal.
You know what the saddest part too was? Well, I mean, it was more pathetic than sad. It was Guatemala. The Guatemala fans, when they lost their game, they were like, every goal that they received, they would celebrate it because it was gonna be that much harder for Mexico.
It was it was one of the more surreal things I witnessed. Like, that whole thing was just like, man, dude, come on, how do you fire him? Like, how do you fire him? Like, did you guys just witness the same thing? Come on.
Hey, that was a traumatic experience for those players, and they might contain the death mark and all that, but I think the cream rises to the crop, man. To the top, I mean. Those players weren't going to amount to anything even if they won and went through.
Did you say the Azul Crema rises to the top?
Yeah, the Azul Crema rises to the top. So those players, they might have been a little bit better, but they weren't going to Europe. They weren't going to be our future generation or anything. They're just...
Beto, not that this is a scientific or anything at all, but what you're saying just reminds me of the Little League World Series where I was watching it, and one of the players, you know how they always bring back the guys that turn into pros or whatever, and they were showing a clip of him choking, screwing up, and little kid was devastated. You know, he was crying, whatever, bawling, upset that he wasn't able to come through for his team. And and he comes back and talks about how the support that he got after that horrible moment in his early career shaped him to be a winner later.
Yeah.
Ande cabrón.
I'm just saying, like he's like, if it wasn't for that support, he was able to put everything in perspective. He got the proper guidance where he was able to work through it and become better, and he was able to taste real success later on. I do think there's something to be said about that. Like if
That's I agree. That's sort of a different situation though, because it's a young kid, and the fans aren't really going to drill into a young kid like they are going to these adults, and hopefully
but they're not adults, man. I mean, I know maybe illegally they're speaking to, but I mean, I don't know where you were when you were 18, but when I was 18, I mean, till I was 30, I was pretty stupid. So
I'm sure their families.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short. You can say that up to you were 40.
I'm not 40 yet, so
I'm sure their families were supportive.
I'll jump on that.
And those closest to them were probably very supportive and everything, but the whole news outlets that were covering this and the fans that were just like such a disappointment, and that's what affected them. That's what I think traumatized them, because it was a huge failure, and it's.
I mean, some of those guys. Think of. I know it's very easy in hindsight to say, "Oh, well, those guys, they weren't going to amount to anything. They were all." But we have no idea how things would have turned out. I think of like a Gauchito Avila, who, he was at that time the next great thing for Chivas, right?
That's another one.
Juan.
Yep.
Hey, but you know what? He got a career-ending injury, dude. That his problem was he got injured, and his injury.
Es porque estaba marcado, güey.
Yeah, I think so, man. Definitely, all those guys. I mean, like Cesar Villaluz, that guy freaking.
Yeah, he had the worst concussion I've ever seen on a soccer field. Just never the same since. And then what about El Torito Silva? El More Mosqueda.
They all I think Chepe Guerrero he got a few more call ups with the senior team after that, right?
What was the name of that 15-year-old kid from Cruz Azul?
Martin Galvan is in the
Martin
Spanish.
Galvan.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
He's
Wasn't there
nicknamed
another
girls
one too,
his...
like with a G, like Gauch or something like that, or?
Traffic.
Taufik Warsh.
Traffic. Yeah.
Traffic watch.
According to Football Manager, he was the next best thing.
Speaking of traffic boys, there's aside from the clásico, I don't want to use the word.
California.
I'll call it clásico chilango. There's el tráfico coming up this weekend.
It's so artificial, John. I was laughing when I saw that. I guess that's what they're calling it.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
El tráfico.
What a great name.
Galvan seems to have cashed in early on, from what I heard. He
go ahead.
No, it seems he kept inviting ladies to his hotel room.
I want to know whose ladies it was, because I have a feeling that he was he was taking junior swimming in forbidden pools is what I think was going on.
You think he was at Whataburger?
Or somebody's daughter, man.
Raising his batting average?
I think there were relations. I don't know if it was a daughter or a wife or a sister, but there was, he got the Capitan Furia treatment for sure.
Yeah, he got completely erased. It kind of makes you wonder.
Yep, and then he's in the Spanish, but he also got hurt too. He also injured his knee. So, but yeah, he was the one that I think even Tim Vickery down in South America always talked about, like, keep an eye on this guy from Cruz Azul.
Well, they debuted him right in the Interliga game, Markarian.
Yeah, Sergio Markarian, yeah.
Because I guess there was a lot of foreign clubs like trying to poach him.
Right.
Wow, so many.
Terrible.
That was a pretty rough trip down memory lane for a lot of folks.
Man, we can do like an entire series on that just for hours and hours and hours. But that is a culminating moment.
Jolie had had a thread on that guy since he was like 6 years old. The next Mexican wonder kid.
Taufik Warsh?
No, Galvan, dude.
No,
Galvan,
it was not Galvan, dude. It was Brian Alvarez.
Oh, I thought it was Galvan too. Though eventually you started tracking Galvan, right?
It did for a while, but I had one on
Extra Cancha stuff though. Got that kid though, didn't he? The traffic kid.
Oh,
Taufik Warsh.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
And an injury too, didn't it?
And I think he had like a European passport, huh?
I have no idea what happened to Taufik.
I think he was in Tecos, and I don't know. But
Santos actually got one of those wonder kids too, who didn't pan out. He's still in the squad.
I don't see him on that team, man. Hey, Pablo Barrera was on the team.
Dinamita. That's the only one that. But then he got marked too. He got that injury, man.
I wouldn't say he's marked. I think he was unfortunate, man. I think he's had
he's had a rough career, but he's
a pretty solid career, man. Like I mad respects for that guy. When before his injuries came, he was one of our answers.
Hugo Ayala was on it.
So out of all the 23 players, Hugo Ayala,
Cata Dominguez.
But
career.
All those guys, only Ochoa like was a fixture on the national team.
Jonathan Orozco.
He didn't play.
Yeah,
I think that's what salvaged him.
Wait, what happened to Kalusha's kid? Was it Billik or Kalusha?
Billik.
Their son was in Mexico, like in the youth team.
I think it's Billik.
Anybody know what happened there?
I'm not sure. I know that there used to be some great threads on some of those younger foreign players. I remember this one guy, was it Brian Leiva or something like that? That was
yeah.
That's the guy, me. Jolie.
That's
your
me.
wonder kid.
It was two. Alvarez and Leiva was the other one. And I think Leiva was half and half. Half RG, half Mexican. And,
right. He was playing in France, right?
Yeah, he had gotten like he had been in the Real Madrid. He had gotten a tryout at Real Madrid, and he was getting all this look, and then he just all of a sudden just disappeared.
See, but again, that's just. I mean, that's what happens. You know, that's. I mean, and it's gonna, but it's not gonna happen every time. Just like it's not gonna happen every time that a guy pans out. But you know, out of 116-year-olds, if you get one to make it, the problem is Mexico can't scrounge up 116-year-olds.
I think Juan was like that as a youth. He was a Cascarita legend, and then he kind of disappeared.
He fizzled
What
out
happened?
like the
What
08
happened, Juan?
Olímpico.
Knee injury, too many chelas. What happened? I think he's gone, man.
Wow.
It's too tough.
Profe, I thought Profe would answer that question for sure, but no.
He's riding over to Joel's house to give him a puñetazo.
A puñetazo?
Right.
That sounds different than that way.
I had asked Dan.
Me hace un puñetazo, no me va a dar uno.
I had asked Dan last week, Joel, a question that I thought I think it sounded like you kind of got a little jealous. So I'll ask you that. That same question this week. So if you have an asado, right?
Yes.
And you get to invite only one out of these two players, who would it be? Would it be Alberto Medina?
Oh,
no, that's
mean. Venado?
That's mean. Would it be Omar Bravo or would it be Bofo? Out of those two.
Oh man, it's Bofo.
It's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, it'll be Bofo, my angel.
Yeah.
Probably throw a shoe at me or something, but it's be Bofo.
Yeah. So Bofo all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bravo, I like Bravo, but he has this look like he's.
Do you think Bofo's the kind of guy that would smoke the Jeffrey with you?
Yeah, he would offer it.
Are we talking about Bofo?
I brought two, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be Bofo.
Bofo seems cool.
Probably the only guy that would out-party him is Salcido.
Or maybe Fabian, man. Well, it depends on what we're doing.
I'd be scared
what kind of party it is. If it's a kegger, I like Marco.
But
Salcido and Gullit.
Yeah, no, Salcido's at a different level.
Borrachos on Chivas or ex
partying, man. But Salcido got to the level of normal partying boredom. So after like 2 years,
Jolie wants to party with Salcido, man.
Yeah, he would call Las Damas con Ramas after like 2 beers.
A new level of partying.
He'll take that party to there's no coming back. So I don't.
You know what? That's just his personal taste, man. Like I don't know if that's really considered partying that hard. Maybe just the real self comes out like after a couple. And
it's like Ronaldo, dude.
Which
like
I don't
Ronaldo,
judge.
You know.
The phenomenon.
Ronaldo had it all, and then they caught him with lady boys.
Well, you know what? He's still the best, despite all that stuff. Even almost at his near 300 pounds, he was still banging the goals in.
Yes.
I had to make sure I clarified that. I didn't want any unwanted puns getting through. But
Reina, Estivo says Angel Reina, but that guy seems violent. He
Yeah, dude, that dude seems like the guy that ends up fighting, dude. It's like, come on, man, dude. Like we were all having fun, dude. It was just a little carrilla, dude. Like, and then you get mad.
Yeah, he's a guy that just tried to start a fight. But there was rumors he would take guns to the locker room.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Huh?
And so you don't want to invite those guys to your asado. It's just you're still with Buffalo. You don't want to have balazos being fired off at midnight.
I'll gladly take Salcido and his preferences over that.
Yeah. You would break bread with Buffalo. You'd party with him.
Just Buffalo just seems like he'd be an entertaining dude. Like, dude's eccentric. He's like a little, kind of like a Dennis Rodman type.
I'm almost
does his own thing.
Halfway convinced that if Buffalo and Joel went on a like a post-party joyride. It would be like training day. But my question is, who would be training whom? Who would be training whom?
It's awful, man. I'm pretty tame in comparison.
Okay.
You know, I could see a little scenario working out where Bofo's like looks over at his nice like crocodile skin boots that Jolie likes to rock every once in a while, and he's like, you know what, man, I like them, man. Can I I'll trade you shoes? You want to trade shoes? And then like, would be like, yeah, dude, let's trade shoes. Then
with the pointy boots.
Yeah, man.
Would they be pointy boots?
No, well, the ones that Bofo doesn't rock pointy boots, but I think he'd appreciate the ones that Joel was wearing.
Well, they're.
Am I wrong? Do you not wear the pointy boots, Joel?
Those ski-looking boots. Those norteño boots. What are they? What was it called again?
I don't have boots.
Or the crocodile skin.
They I don't want to say, but I don't know if it's still a thing in Monterrey to wear those really pointy boots.
The ones that get the cockroaches in the corner?
Pretty much, man.
Wow, that is a great description of that.
I've heard that somewhere.
That is pretty funny. So this week, boys, before we wrap it up on another incredibly entertaining show, your Chivas are playing Friday at Morelia, which might as well be Chivas Southwest, right? Because though there'll be a lot of Chivas fans that live in Morelia, will probably make that a pro Chivas crowd. Is it at this point, boys? I mean, did you guys even pay attention? Is the season lost, or were you still, if not watch, at least keep an ear tuned or
I think it has the makings of a very entertaining game. It could be a goal, one of those.
A goal fest?
Yes.
Well, for Chivas, a goal fest is 1-0.
Well, they've been playing much better now. No terminan, están como le dicen el microondas. Solo calienta pero no cocina. That was Juan's nickname in high school. Anyway. No, but they've been playing much better, and some of the players have recovered. So I think they don't have anything to lose at this point anymore. I'm pretty sure they're concentrating on the Conca champions, but so I think it should be an entertaining game.
All right, Juan, are you gonna tune in, or do you, if you don't tune in, Juan, do you DVR the match and watch it at your leisure?
Yeah, I record. I try to record them.
Do you dissect every minute of every match? Like when you see a goal scored, do you go back to how did this happen, and then you watch the play and you're like, oh, okay, well that's, I'm gonna make my 3-year-olds do this tomorrow until they puke.
He just simulates the games on FIFA.
Yeah, dude, definitely. I try to get like 3 or 4 feeds, and I look at all the angles of every play, analyze it, microanalyze.
Do you use one of those multicolored big pens where you click like the green and the black and the red and the blue?
You know what? That's a good idea for a parting gift for Osorio. Be like, hey, dude,
you don't need multiple pens, dude.
You don't need multiple pens. You can get one pen. Hey.
Es que le gusta las rotaciones de la pluma también.
Probably, dude, but hey, multifunctional pen, man. Hey, you want multifunctional players,
The time that he's spending looking for that other pen, like he could have missed a critical play on the field.
Yeah.
So in addition to that game on Friday, Atlas is hosting Santos. So then you get Friday night. You get Friday night footy.
Yeah.
Friday night footy sometimes that way your weekend isn't ruined. Having to make time to catch Santos. But you also have you have the other great window which is the last game on Sunday, which I always thought was the window that Santos should have, because if they had that.
You think
years,
so?
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean,
I liked that better when it was like at 4:00. But I mean, there's no way they can do it at 4 in Torreon. It's just Not now.
I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with it. I do like the Friday games just because, like, I get home from work and I'm like kind of itching for soccer already, and then like to get to watch your team. That's
Dan,
kind of cool.
They do sell at the Walgreens. They sell an ointment for that.
I'll get that. I'll work on that.
No, so they have Atlas. Atlas on Friday. That should be a little flanecito, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some question marks. They're gonna have to probably. I'm thinking they may suit up De Buen in place of Araujo. So that's a big loss.
So De Buen is gonna play the central.
I've seen him played in that role. I'm assuming that's probably who they're gonna throw out there.
Wow. He's got a good shot, De Buen. He's a former Puma.
Yeah, he's
so Santos
right.
wins. They should. They should.
But even with that loss, I still think they have enough to beat a pretty horrible Atlas side.
Where Rafa has looked every bit of the 39-year-old that he is. It's a sad.
Interestingly enough, though, these injuries kind of somehow like help his chances, depending on how things work out.
Oof.
He can't be discounted, especially when you how many was it? Reyes, Salcedo, and Araujo both walked out.
4 players play the same position in 90 minutes.
So yeah,
and they all got injured. But I think Reyes got injured because he didn't have enough time to warm up.
Right. It's probably more of a precaution for him than anything else. Probably felt something and said, you know what, my sitting on the bench at Porto is not going to be able to handle this, so I'm going to have to go sit on the bench here to get ready. So on Saturday, obviously the big game on Saturday is Lobos Toluca. I mean, when those two teams get together, throw out the records. But
hey man,
the other game that's that night is América Cruz Azul.
Keep your eyes on Toluca, man. That's my favorite for the tourney now.
They have won what 5 or 6 in a row. They are a team that's on a.
That's a team I desperately hope to avoid in the playoffs.
They are choking the life out of the Liga MX right now. Is what Toluca is doing. No, they're playing very well. Toluca. They're on just an unbelievable streak. They they have won 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they've won 5 in a row. So if we talk about a 3-game win streak in Liga MX as being this juggernaut, turns into a juggernaut. A 5-game win streak, as Dan points out, makes you the absolute hottest team in the league and the team that nobody wants to play at all. And then of course we have at Clásico Joven. Oh, I was trying not to say it, Joel, the whole night. Y se me salió. The game between América and Cruz Azul, again, another just massively huge, very entertaining. I would love for Cruz Azul to win the game, just for the hilarity. But it's almost more funny if they
lose.
Right, I just blew myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's must win for the Cruz Azul, man. They still have a chance to get in the playoffs, but it's just been their coco, it's very psychological for them too. So a defeat could pretty much break that team, which is beginning to show some life.
I was at Caixinha at the game in San Antonio where that I was on the field spotting. He was out. He was terrific with the fans. The fans were actually really the fans were as entertaining as the match was on the field. But Caixinha was really great with the fans. And I was actually in San Antonio, which, mind you, is only a 4-hour drive from Monterrey, which maybe 5 hours. It's not that far. I mean, it's truly one of the. There's a lot of Regios that live in San Antonio. Is my point. They were outnumbered by the Cementero fans in the stands, which really shocked me. So it goes to show that for all the talk of Monterrey and Tigres being finally considered one of the grandes, at least in that game, it showed that they still had a little to go. Now in Houston, on the other hand, Tigres played Chivas at the BBVA Compass Stadium, which seats 20,000. They could have played at Reliant Stadium and probably would have sold it out. It was a good crowd for them, and just a great atmosphere for fans to watch the teams that they love play. So good for the fans to create that kind of atmosphere for what's essentially. Now, could they be moleros for club teams too, or do we have to come up with a different name for when it's club teams doing it?
I think molero's a molero, man.
A molero's a molero.
Yeah, it's a mole. Same sauce.
Same sauce, different city.
Yeah, different bowl.
Fair enough. And then, of course, on Sunday, the big game there is Pumas. Will they finally get a win? It seems like the last time they won was late January. It's been a while, and they play Necaxa. So hopefully, Pumas can get off the schneid and take care of that. But it looks like Santos and Toluca are run away. So Dan, you don't want to see Toluca until you absolutely have to, which would hopefully be the final.
I think they'll beat us. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're in second. They're only 2 points behind with 24 points, and then it's Tigres, America, and Morelia. And then rounding out the top 8 are Monterrey, Puebla, and Tijuana with Pumas at 16 points, 9th place. And then a big clump at 15. And then Cruz Azul, Guadalajara, and Veracruz are all toward the bottom with the 12 points. And Atlas and Lobos WAP, the Sotaneros, and I mean, how blessed is Lobos WAP, honestly, for Liga MX to announce this rule or the situation where they're not going to have relegation for 2 years, and then Lobos WAP just happens to, so they might end up being a permanent member of the league. Although someone tells me that they would magically get sold to Atlante.
Yeah, I could see the franchise being sold to another club, San Luis, I think. But isn't the league going to promote? Aren't they going to go up to 20 teams?
Yeah, they're gonna promote 2 more teams, so that they have so that way they can let Tampico have a team in Liga MX.
But I think San Luis, which is half Atlético de Madrid.
Well, if they're gonna have a permanent team league, Joel, where would you think the Vine franchises would go? So they go to San Luis because of, like you said, Atlético Madrid's team. I think they have to be.
Yeah, and also, we also had a good venue. I mean, compared to Lobos, they brought in people, which Lobos it's very small stadium.
Yeah. And how interesting was it that they had a World Cup qualifier there back in October?
Oh man, yeah.
In San Luis, yeah. That's a pretty big signal.
Testing ground.
Hey, Neri got his debut there in San Luis, right?
Neri he was born.
He's born in San Luis.
Born in San Luis. He is a Potosino through and through.
Friend of the show, Metal is a
Is he a Potosino
native?
Too?
Yeah.
No, is it true
that
Cruz
Azul fan?
I was about to ask you.
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
That is such a perfect way to describe the English language version of a Cruz Azuleada. I mean, it's just I couldn't think of a better way to do it.
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
So Buffalo Bills in the 90s.
Oh,
that'd be another good way to describe it.
There's so we think San Luis would get one. I think Cancun has to have one, or at least the team that plays in Cancun is going to get one because they're a 90-year-old team and they have a really bizarre amount of power. Atlante, with their tentacles spread pretty far and wide.
I don't know who their current owners are, but I know that at one point it was the cousin of the Azcárraga,
right?
The Televisa, it was his cousin Burrillo Azcárraga to. So I don't know if he's still associated. He might still be,
So those are two for sure. So there's two more that'll come. So I think Tampico's going to be.
So no Dorados, no chance of Dorados coming back. Or Celaya.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I mean,
I know they're long shots, but I'd love to see a team from maybe Juarez.
When Indios, you want Indios to return.
Yeah, man. I just want to see more northern representation.
Would they have to change the name because it would be insensitive?
No, they've already changed the name. They're now
Indios Finos.
They're now they're just Juarez FC, I think.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they are FC Juarez.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I don't think it's the same franchise at all. I think it was a different set of owners the whole bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't Chivas own them now though? The FC Juarez?
I'm sorry?
Didn't Chivas buy them or start them up again or
that I'm not sure
somehow.
But their uniforms look like Atlas or Tijuana and Seattle Sounders. Had a rough one after a Primus concert, and then ended up having a baby. It was just like the ugliest baby in history. It was that's what the uniforms are like. It's they're pretty rough. So you want to see more northern representation. So that would also include kind of Tampico, not really. It's kind of more coastal, but on the other side, I just think that they, as Ron has pointed out, have the cash to spend on a team. I think that's going to be one of the driving factors. And what surprised me at all, Joel, to see UDG as a team that might buy their way back into.
There's money right there.
Yeah.
Goddamn, I forget their name.
Leones Negros.
Leaños.
Right.
Oh, the owners
have a lot of money. Yeah,
I think with Tecos, that's the Tecos
would make
family.
more sense. Yeah, the Leaños.
They do, but as Joel says, Leones Negros is pretty damn popular in Guadalajara.
Oh,
yeah,
they outdraw Chivas and Atlas together.
Yeah, they would make more sense, but Leaños should just go for that team. Jalisco is in desperate need of. They must be losing a lot of money right there.
I played a golf course that family owns in Barra Navidad in Colima. It was all right. It was party.
Man, yeah, those guys, the Leaños they had their hands in Mexlub, in the Mexlub, which was from the Grupo. Goddamn, no, what was it called? The Guadalajara. Help me out here,
It's
Juan.
not Garces, right?
No, man, the dude they use la promotora. So la promotora that managed Chivas for 10 years. Or nine, pretty solid. But so it was some Martinez Garza family. So they made a lot of money through Pemex, which was some corrupt deal that happened where they got a contract to sell the lubricants, and they were selling Mexlube, and the Leaños were part of that deal too. It's pretty crazy how connected they all are, and right now when me and John were doing some sleuthing. So you see the Chivas Akron Stadium, and that's pretty much.
Wait. You say you and John were snogging?
No, we were sleuthing. No seas celoso, güey. No seas celoso. Pinche Juan. But yeah, that's still same people. Martin da Garza, the kid, he runs the Akron, which is lubricants.
Oh.
Yeah, man.
So would not be something because it looks like they're gonna allow teams to. I mean, from what I would understand, like buy back in. So even if they're really like the Veracruz guy, yeah, I'll put up another 10 million so I can stay in there. So it's going to be interesting how that pans out. But I do think that there's going to be some franchises that go away and some other cities that pop up that maybe have traditionally been a part of Liga MX that weren't that aren't at least not recently been a part.
You know what? That you said that he's willing to put money was that Curi guy from Veracruz.
Yes, exactly.
He said, even if I get relegated, I'll buy my way back. And I'll put as I don't know how he makes money though. I don't know what his deal is.
You may not want to know. You may not want to know how he makes
money. I mean, I want to know. He could just buy Lobos.
That was Gallos Blancos too, right? There was like some questionable sources of income, right?
Well, they were one of those teams that had a silent owner that like no one knew who it was. At Querétaro at one point. I mean, and then that was the last team. I think it was 2013 that was relegated, but then they bought. Either I can't remember if they bought Chiapas or they bought San Luis, but the San Luis team ended up being the one that won. So I'm sorry, they bought the which is or it was Veracruz that bought the team. So La Piedad went to Veracruz. That had been promoted, and then Querétaro bought Jaguares, and then Jaguares changed to San Luis, and then San Luis ended up being relegated.
It's kind of like gender fluid, but team fluid.
It was the craziest promotion you've ever seen in your life.
I still remember two Veracruzes playing, one in first division and one in second, and some of the fans were confused. They didn't know which team.
Man, they have you ever watched a Veracruz game on TV? Man, they have and I think Marquitos was telling us that there's plenty of liquor flowing in the stands, but as far as like filling up the stadium, that place is always packed. They have good fans of Veracruz. Just despite how poorly the team plays, at least for the better part of at least my entire life. I mean, rarely has Veracruz, been consistently good, and yet they still consistently sell out their stadium. That'd be a really fun and interesting trip to go to some of these smaller stadiums in Mexico to watch Liga MX. Like Rigo was going to go down to Morelia to catch a match down in Michoacán. That would be a lot of fun.
I would go to Querétaro first, John. That's obviously Chivas, Guadalajara, but because I guess they got a really nice architecture too, is what I've heard.
Now, why on earth would you want to go see Chivas, man? I mean, seriously, don't you get enough of them on TV?
No, that's why I said I'd go to Querétaro first.
So you would see Querétaro over Chivas first?
No.
What kind of Chivas fan are you?
No, I've been to Chivas. I've seen Chivas. I love Chivas. They're the best.
Hey, what you do in your personal time?
Nobody's got better Chivas than
your own
us.
Business.
Huh?
What you do in your personal time is your own business, Juan. Your own business. All right, boys, we should probably wrap it up. We've been on for.
Just real quickly on the before we wrap up the show, I'd like to ask Coyle a question if he knows since this is a little bit extra cancha. If he knows what's up with the beef between Gael Sandoval and Alan Pulido.
Oh man, and I just heard of it, and I didn't even read it. Where Pulido was saying there's no beef at all. So I'm gonna have to do some research there, man. I haven't been to the lavadera recently.
Okay.
What a letdown.
Well, it's Cuaresma, dude. They probably not eating meat right now,
So that means Canelo's safe for the Clumbeterol,
Does that mean that?
No, Canelo's not safe.
Could Gael be trying to out emo Pulido? I think that.
Well, from a little I've read, apparently Alan Pulido did not want to give him the info on his barber.
No. That sounds like something that would trigger them.
I mean that's like, what you're gonna be the only pretty one on the team? Like, you don't need to be threatened by me.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's,
if anything, it's a compliment. It's like, hey man, I like your hairdresser, dude. I want the same one.
That's just funny, man.
Me gusta tu look. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Well, it sounds like everyone is.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Dan.
I was just hoping that we'd be able to get some info on that, and
Yeah, it
just
is
a little bit more into the inner turmoil of Chivas.
Because usually Joel has his thumb right on when something's going on at Chivas. Joel is on it.
I do know it. I haven't been to with the lavanderas, man. I haven't been with the chismes. I'm actually been out of commission recently.
Pues ya tienen su tarea.
Sí, you moved to the OC y se te cortan las líneas de comunicación.
I was helping knock down some cement with the sledgehammers. Andaba de albañil.
Oh, so you were with Puro Cruz Azul.
Yeah, man. My back is shot, dude.
¿Y la Cruz Azuleó?
Barely walk.
Hey, you know what? But I heard that if you live in the OC, your snottiness goes up by like, I mean, just if you drive through, it goes up by like 10 points. So I think Jolie's up like 30 points. So definitely.
Well, then you can apply the Hugo Sanchez rule of, if you live, like you said, that if you play in Mexico, a game in Mexico and then a game in Europe, in Europe is worth 30 times what a game in Mexico is. So yeah. So by just crossing into the OC, Joel's hit points have increased 30 points.
Oh, hit points. That doesn't sound bad.
Yeah. So, well, gentlemen, a very entertaining show. I had a really good time tonight. I think we covered all the bases that we needed to cover. Even got in a little Liga MX talk. Talked a little about Argentina and their 6-1 goosing they took from Spain, and of course the friendlies that we discussed. The Mexico's playing. I think all of us are in consensus that it's not really that worried, but it doesn't really change our opinion of to how things are going to end up in the World Cup, which is, I think a lot of us are kind of in that it's either right between the 3 and done, and they might make it to the knockouts. So,
can I offer a closing thought, John?
You may not. No, yeah, go right ahead.
We totally forgot to cover that El Equipo de Todos beat Paraguay 1-0. This week.
All right, I think we covered that. So thank you, Juan, for bringing that up.
Was that Peru? Was he talking about
that
Peru?
was thorough coverage right there, man.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still playing.
I will say that Peru played Iceland and they beat them 3-1, and they looked when their red unis looked fantastic.
Shit.
That is a good look for Peru.
And we haven't seen Peru in the World Cup since
I was a kid.
Pantera Negra. You saw the original Black Panther.
That's right. Since I was
El Gallo Negro.
No, wait, I'm confusing players now.
Pantera Blanca was Eusebio. He's Portuguese.
Yeah.
No, Brazil in '82. Cubillas, I don't think was on that team, but they had Barbadillo. They had Uribe. They were doing fine up until they played Poland, and in the second half, the Poles just destroyed them. And then Peru hasn't been seen or heard from since. They lost 5-1. Lato got a hat trick. So they lost 5-1. I mean, this was after tying Cameroon and Italy both. So they were in prime position to advance. All they had to do was either get the 1 point or beat Poland, which they could have easily done. And then after that, they just disappeared, and they just, like nothing. They were, but they're back, and they have a pretty reasonable group. They think that they might have some opportunities to advance. It'll be interesting to see how that works out for the. I have because in honor of I do have this.
Do you know how offensive that is? Like we're Peruvians.
I was cracking. But of course we do play that in jest. We don't feel like that here on the CantinaMX podcast. But it is time for us to go. We do appreciate. Anybody else have any last final thoughts before we wrap this thing up, which I've been trying to do for the past 10-20 minutes. All right. Dan, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully your boy Nestor will come back stronger than ever.
Hopefully, man. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Had a good time.
Hopefully when he comes back, his beard is like down to his belly button, and it just gives him that much more
I hope it's gray, like Moses. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be great. Joel, as always, thanks for hopping on. We do appreciate it.
Oh, siempre, Yon. Always a pleasure to be on.
And good luck with your Chivas this weekend in Morelia, and I'll say the same to Juan Uribe, the profe. Profe, did whatever happened with your Pachuca stuff? Is that
No,
are you no longer
Ya no lo invitaron.
drinking
What
ya
happened,
no me
man?
invitaron, güey.
el jugo airoso?
No more fruit
No la
baskets
armé.
arrived.
Yeah, it was. No, it was. No, I'm not a part of that program. That.
Oh, okay. So you switched groups?
Yeah, I'm with another soccer school, you could say, or travel. So this one's not affiliated. This one's actually affiliated with LAFC, but it's like a loose affiliation. But they
really.
Yeah, but I guess once we'll be playing friendlies against the LAFC teams.
Well, I have to ask you both before we hang up. Who wins El Tráfico this weekend?
Oh, I think LAFC is gonna smash, dude. Being honest.
Yeah. Joel?
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question for Juan because the LAFC had spent about 30 million, I think, for a training complex at what is it, Cal State LA?
Yeah, it's in Monterey Park, so yeah, it's in Cal State LA.
¿Ya fuiste? So, yeah, you were giving the tour away.
No, I've been there because I've seen their youth academies train. So they train in the Cal State LA stadium. I think it's called the Golden Eagle, and they were under construction there. So I haven't been there since they finished building. But it's a cool facility, and it's not that far from the stadium. From what's it called? Bank. California Bank or something, or what the hell's the name of the stadium?
Bank of California Stadium.
Yeah, Bank of California Stadium. So yeah, it's not that far. It's like a 30-minute drive. So, but it's off the.
Y'all crack me up. 30 minutes is not a long drive for y'all. That cracks me up. Oh yeah, it's only 30 minutes. No big deal.
It's probably more.
And sadly, it's only like 2 miles away, and it still takes you 30 minutes to get there.
Yeah, it's like 5 miles away. Yeah, it is. But Jolie, so it's off the 710, the stadium, the training facility, off the 710, and you exit on once the freeway ends. Are you planning to check it out, or you just wondering about it?
Yeah, no, I would like to, just because I heard 30 million. I want to see what 30 million pays for, man. Pretty much, man. But that's good to have, more and more academies and stuff like that.
Well, you know what you need to do
opportunity for players.
When you open your academy, is build it for 31. That way you can say, hey, well, mine costs 31.
That would be Juan, man, if he wins the Super Lotto. But no, it opens up more opportunity, and for kids, when I was growing up, there was nothing like that. You just had the Sunday public teams, and like maybe the high schools, but to have now like academies and actual academies to teams, it's really good.
There's some really great fields in Bell Gardens, Jolie. It's called the John Answer Ford Park. That's where Chivas USA would practice, and their academy teams would practice. It's a really, really nice complex. They've got I think it's 8 soccer fields and 2 baseball fields. It's a really awesome complex. They built it for 10. I mean, they don't have a clubhouse and the other amenities that a professional club would need, but it's been great for the youth. For the youth players in that area, the whole surrounding area, Southgate, Bell Gardens, Downey, and Watts, all that area.
¿Ya acabaron?
Yeah,
yeah.
Just checking. All right, boys. No, really, we should wrap it up.
There's overtime.
That's right.
Gol de oro.
Is Chiqui still with us? No, he left.
Chiqui ya se durmió.
Say thanks to
That's it,
Chiquis, and also thanks to Rico Ayala that joined us. And thanks to y'all for listening. I know we had a quite entertaining chat as well. So thanks to the folks that participated in the chat. And again, you can download this and our previous editions of the podcast from iTunes as well as Google Play. You can follow us on the Twitter. We're at CantinaMX_pod. And we have a Facebook page, which is very active. You get some. If you like being on Facebook and you're on there regularly, you will get regularly updated with not just things that happen in Liga MX, but also in the world of soccer, cancha, and occasionally extra cancha too. So some good information there. But please, we do appreciate all of y'all's patronage, and we thank you guys for listening. And my name is John Jagoop, and for all of us here at the CantinaMX podcast, we say good night, and we'll talk to you all next week.
What about Tumblr?
We don't have a Tumblr yet. I don't even know what Tumblr is.